Greetings and salutations, Focus Up family. Welcome to the February 7, 2026 installment of the Focus Up Show. We thank you for tuning in with us live every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on YouTube and various other platforms. Catching up with us on replay. And we ask that you click that like, that subscribe, that bell, and share to support and maintain your weekly Focus Up fix. I am Mr. Night Sky, night as in the word saint spelled backwards. And today, my co-hosts are Brother Walk, host of Sex Talk with Walk, Thursday at 9 p.m. and co-host of Street Focus on Sundays at 6 p.m. We got Brother Afro Agnostics, co-star of Objective Deconstruction and star of those Afro Agnostic videos on social media. We got Mr. Student X, star of Mutant Politics and contributor to Objective Deconstruction. We got infamous El Pooh, star of Spin That Back. And then we got the boss man, Mr. Floyd X. Also co-star of Street Focus on Sundays at 6 p.m. So no sisters today, no First Lady J, no AB, but you know, we're gonna push through. Shout out to them. What's going on with you, Brother Walt?
Oh, I'm chilling, man. I barely made the show, man. That bed was feeling so good, but I'm here. I'm ready to rock. I got a lot of stuff to do today, and we're starting right here with the Focus Up Show.
That's what's up, Brother Afro Agnostics. What's going on with you, sir?
Oh, man, I'm pretty good. Real rested. I'm feeling walk on that bed, man. We just traded in our Tempur-Pedic and got regular springs, man. Like that Tempur-Pedic shit, that's for some people. But, you know, like I need springs, man. I need the old school. That's
what's up. That's what's up. Student X, what's going on with you, sir?
Sleeping is for sissies. Wake up. We've been asleep a long time, brothers. You know what I'm saying? But nah, man, just chilling, man. Just I want to direct people again to, you know, my the quote of the day, you know, nothing is certain, everything is possible. Robert Anton Wilson, for those that know, you know, and that's the theme, you know, for where I'll be sharing with you all today.
That's what's up. Mr. Boston, man, Mr. Floyd X, what's going on with you, sir?
Chilling, man. You know, had a long week. We're trying to wind down and enjoy this Super Bowl weekend and all that stuff. So I'm just trying to mentally put myself in a relaxed place.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this Super Bowl. What's going on with you? What it do, infamous El Pooh?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl too. I want to see what Bad Bunny gonna do and the other halftime show with these other people that nobody knows. All American.
The Cracker Show.
Ouch. Yeah, so that's what's up. So let's get to the gift. First thing up, let's talk about Lil Jon's song. Hey, Big Cuz, what's happening with you, sir?
Big Cuz. What's up?
Man, so it's a tragic situation, you know, as you're getting older, you know, people are falling off for all type of things, but I mean, you know, I don't know the particulars of this. What do you say what happened where they found him, Mr. Floyd X?
Well, no, initially he was reported missing. They couldn't find him, and they did a search. In the search the area, they had some divers go out, and they had a camera down there, and they found the body, retrieved it. It was found to be Lil Jon confirmed that it was his son. So they found his son. I think his son is 27 years old, I believe. And he was found deceased. So, you know, rest in peace to that brother. And our condolences goes out to the family.
And you said that was on their property?
Yeah, it was on their property. I guess some property got out there in Atlanta, got a pond in the back or something of that nature, from what I understand.
Yeah, I gotta stay away from the water like that because I can't swim. I can drown, but I can't swim, so I know better.
Malcolm Jamal will warn us.
Yeah, you live in LA, man. You right by the beach. You can't be saying that.
Yeah, like I said,
I try to encourage all black people, man. We gotta learn how to swim. You gotta get and learn it, man. Just get in the water and learn that shit. You gotta learn.
I've been taking brothers out there surfing, and people, a few, Brother Floyd, man. You get them in that ocean, they get worried about them sharks. You know what I mean? They'd be like, yeah, it is a possibility. It's cold out here, but man, you know what I mean? This right here, you talking about adrenaline. You know what I mean? You talk about fun. Man, nothing like it.
Get in the pool then. If you're scared of sharks, get in the pool. Just practice. Just go and get somebody to teach you. It's easy, man.
Honestly, I think that swimming and CPR, everybody should know those things. It's just, these are life-saving things. So,
Hell yeah.
Good teaching.
I know CPR.
I definitely feel as a black man, you need to learn. You have to know how to swim. How you gonna save your kids if something happened to them? You know what I'm saying? But I'm like this. All my kids know how to swim, but my youngest. His mom prevented me from teaching him. She talking shit like, hey, you're doing it wrong. And she can't fucking swim.
Yeah, but when you go to a black pool party, they don't even be in the pool, man. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, get the shallow end. Yeah.
People don't want to get their hair wet. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. So, that having been said, next up, I'm sorry, let's talk about the Grammy Awards. So I didn't watch the Grammys. I pretty much never do, but I do like to find out, what happened and see the highlights. And one of the things that I saw was the situation with Cher, which was kind of a weird situation, you know what I'm saying? But, at the end of the day, Kendrick Lamar, still doing things, you know what I'm saying? Still winning. So, salute to those brothers. So
Kendrick Lamar, the king of rap. He's back. He had come and made a pop-out appearance. He popped out and showed up again and won, 28 or 27 Grammys total? Not that night, but the most of any rapper. He has the most Grammys of any rapper. He just surpassed Jay-Z with the amount of Grammys. Salute to that brother. I didn't get to watch the Grammys either, but I heard the news, and I was real proud that Kendrick Lamar did his thing. Salute to that brother.
Salute to K-Dot, baby. Salute to K-Dot. That young brother took over the planet. I'm proud of him, just a young man. I remember I seen him one time at Interscope Records in the parking lot. I'm looking like that. He looks familiar. This was like 2010 or something. But I'm just proud. He from the West Coast, and he is the king of motherfucking rap. They not like us.
But did you need the Grammys to tell you that though?
No, hell no. We've been on that train. We've been on that train for a minute, brother. Pause. But yeah,
if you were really 80s hip hop baby, you were really anti Grammys because they didn't even have a category for us. They totally ignored, the genre. And I was always, the award shows for pimps and hoes and every other hypocrite to flaunt their clothes. KRS knows. I was always on that shit, man. But they give out this symbolic piece of metal, the same record industry that's exploiting the artists and everything. But they do, artists are more expressive than other areas of work. So I think it always has been a platform for people to make political statements. So I like the statements that were made this year. Even Janelle last year, how she did, there's an anti-Trump and liberal, display going on there. And it's kind of hypocritical because, they're there, all conspicuous, consumption, materialistic, all this stuff, but they want to stand up for something. And, I take that for what it is. But the highlight to me was Bill Porter. Fuck you. I don't know if y'all got that Bill Porter, fuck you. That was a highlight for me. And I can say more on the Shamboozle immigrant statement that was false information.
Yeah, I want to talk about about immigrants built the country, and I want to talk more about that. But
that's crazy.
Who else?
You brought it up. Let's talk about it. Shoot.
Yeah, I
don't even know what it is. So I'm interested to hear it. What's going on?
He during his acceptance speech, he said that shout out to the immigrants. He was addressing the ICE situation, and then he put the caveat at the end that immigrants built this country, and then the FBA took offense to it. Now, I know there's two sides to it, but I want to hear y'all take on it. Basically, what y'all think about that? Immigrants, slaves, or the enslaved? Which one? Or
Immigrants,
Bullshit.
immigrants did not build this country. Immigrants were not here. The only people that was here to build this country were foundational Black Americans, and we built it from scratch. And don't think we was just slaves and white folks was just like, yeah, pick up that stick over there. We was designing things. We were brilliant slaves. Do not get it twisted, my brother. Yeah, Shabuzi, take your ass back to Africa. Where he from? He from Nigeria.
Let's make a correction. The first immigrants stole the country. Period.
Yeah, exactly.
So
and to me, it depends who you calling the immigrants.
Hey, did they have paperwork?
I regret. So let's. We got the Super Bowl coming up.
I
want to hear Student X take on it.
Okay, I want to say something after Student there.
I'll be real brief. Afro reminded me of why the hell I quit watching the Grammys years ago, bro. I don't even watch the Grammys, but I did hear some of the some of the situations that are going on, and I didn't know about that last comment that you made right there, and it's pretty spectacular, but like right now, I feel like there's agents among us that is being paid to sow a discord and to be used as a distraction from what's way more important that's going on right now. You know what I mean? And there's plenty of examples we could look at, that we can use, to display that. And I'll leave it at that for now.
So I was just going to say real quick, this is the same dumbass statement that Obama made or he alluded to. Ben Carson made the same statement. And it's promoted, we're a country of immigrants. No, that's not true. That's disrespectful to the indigenous people of this country, and that's disrespectful to us who are also indigenous people. And when you look at social indicators, you will see that those who were not immigrants are at the bottom or at the lowest of all social indicators, the Native Americans or Indians, and then us. We were displaced. Of course, Nathaniel, some of the Nathaniels, or what do you call it? The Mexicans that were already here on the mainland that was later put under the jurisdiction of the U.S. But anyway, you have two groups of people that came here voluntarily and people who came here involuntarily. So we're not the same. Two different histories, two different experiences, two different perspectives, two different political goals and political destinies. So we are not the same.
On that note, that's a great segue to talk about Black history. You know what I'm saying?
Wait,
so
one more thing about the Grammys. Our brother Lil Wayne come out every time Kendrick win big. Lil Wayne comes out crying, talking about what about me? Lil Wayne, my brother, you one of my favorite rappers. You are a great rapper. Lil Wayne. Wow, listen, Lil Wayne. You one of my favorite rappers, man. Listen, you gotta stop crying and complaining every time Kendrick Lamar pop out. Just sit back, find something else to do, and relax, man. I seen you when you last Grammy you won. You used it as a ashtray. So why you crying about not getting one or being nominated this year? Get over it, buddy.
He took his Super Bowl.
But Kendrick embraced the people. You don't even know what Black Lives Matter is, sir. So
word, that shit pisses me off.
He never faced racism.
Yeah, he never spit not a day in his life. A white man saved me when I got shot myself in the heart. Fuck out of here with that racism shit. What the fuck out of here? That's all I want to say. That's all.
So let's talk about Black History Month now, Mr. Afro Agnostics.
Yes, sir.
You know the history of how this started. Why we have Black History Month. Why don't you set the table with that?
Yeah, man. Black History Month has been a continual progression. Started in 1924 by Carter G. Woodson. It started off as just a week in February, and then in 1974 it expanded. So there's this continual expansion into a month. And then later, I believe in the 80s, in the mid 70s, it was made a federal holiday. So there's this trajectory of expansion to Black History Month. And a lot of people don't know that Black businesses, there's a big spike, not just in February, but also in March and April. So, and then also, you know, you have all across the United States, not only a lot of revenue and patronage to Black businesses, but you also have Black youth programming and community engagements in schools, cities, you know, nonprofits, assemblies, guest speakers, curriculum add-on, you know, clubs and festivities. So, you know, the goal of Black history, you know, the celebratory part of it is really the youth and the involvement of the youth and building relationships with Black institutions and so forth. So the whole notion of getting rid of it is just beyond stupidity, man. Why, if you want Black history 365, why get rid of the 90 days we already have? Build on what you got. Use what we got to expand and get what we want. I can talk more about that, but
that's what's up. All right, so I'm gonna go to you, Mr. Student X. So, what do you think about Black History Month?
Well, bro, I just shared an image, and it's one of many, you know, that I created. Brother Floyd could testify. This is something I created, you know, back in the day. You know what I mean? And, bro, you know, everything that Afro just shared, you know, wonderful, you know, and I can remember like the impact, you know, Black, you know, history, like when I became conscious of like there being Black History Month and being educated on Black history. It was my mom, and she had she was working at the state of California at one of the departments, and she had invited this brother to do a presentation for anyone who wanted to attend it, Black, white, whoever. And it was talking about the various inventors, you know, that we had, you know, through Black history. And I remember I sat there and my mind was blown, you know, and all that, you know, we had accomplished. And then what blew my mind the most was how it was not being exposed to us, you know, and then how it made me feel, you know, is then I understood why immediately. You see what I'm saying? And it kicked in something in me, you know, that to this day, that was pretty much, I would say, the foundation of my activism, you know. So no, Black history, but is important, you know what I mean? And something that, you know, whoever, you know, would talk against it, you know, then, you know, if they're white, they haters, you know, are unknowledgeable, you know, and the same would be true if they were Black, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Black history is major, you know what I mean? And I'll be a supporter of it, you know, forever, and building upon what we have. That makes more sense. Don't take something away. You know what I mean? When you take something away, you know, then the enemy wanted something taken away for a reason. You know what I mean? You know, so nah, you know, hold on to what we got, build upon it.
I'm gonna come to you, Walk, but El Pooh, let me switch it up a little bit. How do you feel about Black History Month, sir?
Well, what was that last comment? I think because just put up. He said Black history is being rewritten. I don't believe that. I think it's being suppressed more or less. You know, because you know, history is written by the winners, they say, right?
Yep.
But the whole point of it is, like Mr. Floyd X, excuse me, Mr. Charles X just said right there, Student X just said, you know, it is important. That's the reason why they want to suppress it and take it away from us, because we get a sense of pride from this. You know what I'm saying? And they don't want us to have that. You know what I'm saying? But thank God that we have a president like Donald Trump that's here to our side, help us with Black history and, you know, to promote it and everything. And we're going to talk about him later and, you know, his skills about Black people later on in the show, y'all.
I agree. You being sarcastic, but I agree. You know what I mean? You know, so I can't wait to talk about that. Thank God we have him right now. You know, I think it is important. And to the brother, I don't want to minimize this.
Put up the picture. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Brother Walk.
I see that picture. Hey,
okay. Hey, well, look. I don't appreciate y'all talking about for the record. You know what I mean? But look, what the brother just had in the comments. You know, that is an important point, you know, because both of what brother says is being rewritten and, you know, is being, you know, tucked away as well. You know what I mean? And we can see it in just so many examples, you know, of how it's being rewritten today, you know. But, you know, again, I want to get too much off on another tangent. But yeah,
Brother Walk.
What up?
Black,
yeah, man. Hey, Black history is definitely very important to us, to our people. But I remember we had this discussion before and I'm gonna say the same thing, that the majority of the Black history that I learned that stuck with me basically is what I learned on my own after I got out of high school, and just reading and watching a lot of Farrakhan tapes, watching Brother Khalid Muhammad, brothers like these that where you was really like, wow, we did this, we did that, because they don't go into depth in schools. Like in school, all you hear about is Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream, Malcolm X, By Any Means Necessary. Like, and there's so much more to these brothers, but you just get a little tiny tidbit. So, but I think we as Black people, we should teach our own children about Black history. It's a lot of stuff that I verbally said to my sons and to my daughter about Black history, and I got to get to that last one. But if Mama, let's go.
Mr. Floyd X, you, sir, what do you feel about Black History Month?
I could greatly appreciate Black History Month. I remember as a child bringing home the Black History calendar. Every month there was a different Black person, stuff like that. It helps ingrain into your brain Black people was more than just enslaved people. They did things, they invented things. And like when KRS come with the songs about you must learn, and they educate you. And I remember when Brother Afro was speaking on, as far as the government goes, funding Black history things, and how what Trump is doing is taking that shit away, and is making it more difficult because it created opportunities for people to use funding to enhance and grow the young Black mind as far as the thinking and knowing their history. So I mean, we gotta keep fighting that fight to where this dumb Trump dude ain't gonna be taking all this shit away. He knocked down the black square market or whatever you call that thing, and he's slowly pushing away. But salute to Black History Month. We greatly need it, and I'm with Student Next also on the 365. It should always be taught.
Just a little quick bow on it. The Black History Month is diluted and watered down in certain institutions like public schools, but it also depends on what school you're at. But you get less watering down with the community programs for the youth. And the reason why the involvement of Black youth in programs, it spikes up on February, March, and April, is because of what Floyd said: the funding, more money, more Black contracts go around. And this is a result of Black history, why we shouldn't get rid of it. Also, it's not an individual thing. It's not, you can teach your kids that, but it's a community thing. So if you have never organized community events, you don't really, you wouldn't be able to duplicate Black History Month. Like, for instance, in Oakland, we did every year the Malcolm X Jazz Fest. People come from SAC, LA, everywhere. We have 3 stages. Amiri Baraka is host many times. Numerous activities for Black youth to get involved in. Black vendors make money and everything. So that's squished in between April and June. So just think about what happens in June, Juneteenth. We can expand this and make it, 5 months, 6 months, or even more, coming from Martin Luther King's birthday in January. You have numerous events, so we can keep up that spike in Black businesses and Black youth involvement.
Yeah, see, they complain and say you're always talking about slavery, but this is an opportunity to talk about something else. And to me, Black history was particularly important was because I grew up always thinking the way things you were taught to you were thinking like, well, dang, we were like savages over there in Africa, and thank goodness white people civilized us over here.
Right.
But if you don't get this history and understanding all of this stuff, Black people needed it the most based on the trauma and all the circumstances that we experience here to see ourselves in that different light. So that's one of the reasons. And again, always say, this is not just about us learning. They need to learn it too. So that's why even if the school is doing a cursory, or maybe they're not doing as in-depth as you're doing on individual, it's not enough that we understand that what we need to understand. They need to understand it too. This will help us put us in proper perspective as well. So again, it's important for all parties involved. So,
brother, is that I have an image I share, and this is an example of just like the rechanging of history. They start making films that did reenactments instead of showing you the real thing. you know what I mean, of what was happening, you know. And so less than 60, 70 years ago, a little sister trying to just go to school and get an education, and then there's a whole, you know, institution, you know what I mean, that is owner, and that's with National Guards, you know, having to be deployed in the streets, you know what I'm saying? You know, so the thing is that, you know, I'm not going to pretend and act like that this is gone somewhere. You know what I mean? I think there's obviously been some evolution, you know what I mean? You know, but, you know, man, like I said, strategy is what it come down to. You know what I mean? That's from Eyes on the Prize. My mom used to, every year, you know, Black History Month, PBS, sit me and my sister down. Y'all going to watch this. You know what I'm saying?
Produced by a lot of Jewish foundations.
Yeah, I'm so thankful. I mean, for sure.
Who'd you say did it? No, yeah, I'm just kidding, but still. See, that's the thing about the PBS. That's another thing. That's why it's important to keep that funding, and that's just another example of that dude doing that work that's hurting us. But you know, let's talk about the Super Bowl. You know,
shit.
Yeah, a little lighter.
Yeah, but
must lose.
But I mean, I'm just telling you, I'm looking very much forward to this Super Bowl. I don't have a dog in the race. You know, I'm very interested to see how it's going to play out. But, you know, I'm also super, you know, hyped up to see, you know, I think there's going to be that Doomsday, you know, trailer. So we're going to actually see Dr. Doom. So I don't know. I'm just saying, but I'm looking for it. I always love the commercials. And I'm, you know, football. I love football. But, you know, like I said, I don't care Seahawks or Patriots. I know Brother Student X says that, you know, the fix is in, that it's going to be the Pats. Hey, I love Coach Vrabel. He was our ex-coach.
Hey, wait a minute. Student X, he got on the Seahawks colors.
Yeah, y'all know what it is. All day, every day. You know, look, I love how it's in the Bay too.
It's gonna be the Seahawks.
That's why I'm excited about. The weather's nice up out here. You know what I mean? Everybody having a good time. You know, so this is gonna be a fun show. You know, I like the diversity in the halftime act, the controversy. You know what I mean? All that. You know what I mean? I like the matchup. You know, I like the fact that, you know, my conspiracy theory is a heavy underdog, you know what I'm saying? And I'm going to roll with it, you know what I mean? And we're going to see what happens.
Hold on, man. This is San Diego. That's not the Bay.
This is not San Diego. This is San Francisco, man.
Yeah, that's the Bay.
Okay. Bay for sure. Okay, damn.
Yeah.
You know, with me, every year, I try to sit down with the conspiracists and figure out how can we get the Green Bay to win this year's Super Bowl.
I think a lot of the conspiracy theories have to do with actual conspiracies. You know what I'm saying? With, you know, the Deflategate, you know, Spygate.
Yeah.
You know.
Hey, conspiracies are real. Conspiracies are real, so they do happen.
Oakland, they hate the Tuck rule. You know, they swear. You know, so. You know, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's kind of unprecedented. The halftime performance, and I think a lot of it has to do with just the number of Black players, Black fans, the growing. I think Latinos are the fastest growing fan base. You know, Fernando Mendoza, that guy that's expected to be the top pick, but this turning point. This cracker protest show. I want to just address quick. They frame it as all American, and I think Kid Rock made the statement. Kid Rock, by the way, just for the record, is not from Detroit. He's from Romeo, Michigan. He was born with a silver spoon. His father owned a Ford dealership. He had a ghetto pass from some people that he ain't from the soil either. But he was talking about this dude, Bad Bunny, wearing a dress and speaking in Spanish. And this is a real show for people who love America, not knowing the geopolitics of Puerto Rico. But it's just racism because U2 performed in the Super Bowl. Coldplay, The Who, they all from the UK. But guess what?
Who's the president of Puerto Rico again? Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Brother Apple, you said it's unprecedented. What do you mean by unprecedented? Is because it's gay or because he's Latin? Which one?
I'm just for me, just with a person of his political stature. Maybe I'm thinking something like that, and also he is a Spanish-speaking person. and his songs are in Spanish, so I think that's kind of unprecedented.
I did like what he said. I think it was last year when people were like, but he don't speak English. And he said, well, y'all got 2 months to learn Spanish before the show.
Which is impossible, but yeah.
I came up with a solution. You know what I mean? I went and purchased the Ray-Ban Meta glasses. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Large translate. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? I'm on my path. You know what I'm saying? I'm on my path.
That's tight.
What you feeling about the Super Bowl, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to the alternative halftime show, the Turning Point USA.
Wow.
Show. Gonna have some of my favorite artists: Kid Rock, Brantley Gilbert, Lee Bice, or Bryce, I think it is, and Gabby Barrett. Never heard of none of them.
MC by Scott Bale. Yeah.
What they didn't invite Nicki Maga?
Now they have a special guest, Charlie Kirk.
Ouch.
That's great.
That's
And channeled by Candace.
Ouch. So that having been said, yeah, let's pivot.
She would look. I can tell you right now, Candace would not be welcome at a Turning Point event. You know, let me tell you that right now. And then you know that comment about Charlie, man. You know, that's disrespectful. You know what I mean? You know, however, right now I had my comment last week. Was that Erica Kirk is the worst widow ever? You know what I mean? Let me tell you that right now, worst widow ever. There's so many questions. You know what I mean? And that's a whole different subject. But
wondering why we're concerned about the widow of a white supremacist and how she feels. I mean, who cares?
Well, I think like
it's a better place.
I mean, you can care or not care. You know, I mean, me myself, you know, I was the dude that was monitoring, you know, the white supremacist organizations around my area. You know, and tracking them, you know what I mean, and actually infiltrating them, you know, just so I could, you know, gather data and intel. You know, that's how I roll. You know what I mean? But other people roll different. You know,
was you wearing when you infiltrated them? Was you wearing white face?
No, it was back then. Back then, it was a chat. It was chat rooms, and so and like different like mailing lists. And so I was on the HK, which is a Heckler and Koch, you know, a chat group. You know. And then, you know, so I was just known by my handler name. You know what I mean?
I think that's great work, man. I think that I just don't see how that's connected to, you know, her not being a great wife to a white supremacist. I mean, that to me, that's irrelevant to the work that you do that I appreciate.
Hey, you got any plans about the Super Bowl walk?
I didn't. Is it this Sunday?
Ouch.
I'm just looking forward to. I'm just looking forward to a good game. These two young teams, they got busy, man. You gotta understand, like with all the pressure from the Patriots, Bill Belichick gone, no more Brady. They were supposed to be a 2-win team for the next 10 years or something, but they came through punching people in the mouth and got busy. I kind of think the Patriots are going to take it. You know what I'm saying? But I'm looking forward to a good game. And some good drink too.
That's what's up. All right, so now might be a good time to go to the break. Sorry, I catch you off guard, sir.
You didn't catch me off guard. I'm always ugly.
The brand trucking for all of your trucking needs. Y'all saw the number at the end. Call them. East Coast to West Coast, West Coast, East Coast, North, South, South to West. I believe that after the Super Bowl, he's going to be towing the Patriots back to Foxborough, I believe.
That's gobealive.org. Go get you some of that black honey. And if you want to get it in person, go to the Petty Vice at Venice, or to the Afro City Marketplace at the Crenshaw Mall. Salute, Sister Nidra. What's up?
Hey, if you ain't got nothing going on, Super Bowl, go to the bar. Score Bar and Lounge, a black-owned bar. 7123 Franklin Boulevard. Go check out the Super. They got 9 TVs in there. You can watch the Super Bowl there. If you don't got a TV at home, go watch it there. And they got food and drinks for you there too. Go check them out.
And the pool table. I kicked ass that night.
Turn up the dial, it's 10:30. Be back. Spin that back show, all the classics on track. From 79 to 99, we're crossing the gap. Album reviews, little known facts, hip hop intact. Saturday mornings, dive into the history. Samples and stories. Old.
Gotta unmute. You gotta unmute. It mutes you out.
Damn.
I
Okay,
don't know why they do that.
I'll be go to the Focus Up channel on the YouTube and look at the Spin That Back show. We ain't gonna be on this week. We will be back though. So check us out.
They got some classic shows. You got shows about DJ Quick, NWA, Ice Cube, and the East Coast rappers. It's a whole bunch of shows y'all can go back and watch, the archive shows.
That's what's up. So all right, so let's talk about we had some fights that just played out, and one of the fights was with a Jarrell Miller. Is that how you pronounce his name? Jarrell Miller or Jarrell Miller?
Jarrell Miller.
Yeah, I didn't know nothing about this guy, and I don't know how many people did, but this dude is world famous now. He's going to live forever in memes, and he had something kind of crazy that happened during the fight. Literally got his wig split. You got the picture? Why don't you put it up there?
Where's that picture at all, man?
I mean, now he said for whatever reason something happened that his hair fell out, so he had hair, but he just tried to do this thing to kind of push through it. And I mean, that happened mid-fight, and he's literally like trying to defend it. And it's like you exposing yourself. You gotta fight somebody. You just defend yourself at all times. But I mean, he still won. So salute to that brother. And he's been on the tours. He's handled this perfectly. I know he didn't plan it, but this was like the greatest marketing bid he could have possibly came up with. What you think about this brother Walk?
I've been watching Jarrell Big Baby Miller for years, since like 2014. He's not that good. He's just a big old dude. He continuously come forward, but it's like the heavyweight division is so weak. That's why he keep getting fights. You know what I'm saying? But that was totally ridiculous to even put that on. What happened? He said that he's not really ready to go ball like your boy. Come on, man, ball that sucker. So he went, and that cost him $700. I don't know if I could pay that. Maybe for my birthday, I might go with the maybe. But yeah, but that was totally ridiculous on that end right there.
And he didn't check. It wasn't dishwasher safe. You know what I'm saying? You just can't just walk in there with that. What you about to say, Mr. Floyd X?
I mean, I appreciate him being funny about it and going on all these shows. He was on, I think it was Jimmy Kimmel. He was on the Breakfast Club, and every time they're like, take the hat off, and he do that shit. He do like that shit was hilarious, man. I appreciate it. It was a good entertainment for the week. And so salute to Big Baby. That was a good fight, and I'm glad he won that fight. I don't watch boxing like that, but I'm glad he won that fight.
What do you think about that, El Pooh?
It was funny. All I could think about was Steve Harvey. That's all I could think of.
It looked like one of our viewers that they didn't believe that it was real, but that was real. That shit really got knocked off.
Like I said, that meme will live on in infamy. What you feel about that Afro agnostic?
Charlamagne said he should get 50. He should get 650 back. He paid 600 for it. The guy assured him that it would stay on, and but there's a little history of these hair malfunctionings. I remember when Paulie Maggiolini had to get his hair cut in the corner. You know, he was trying to be slick and get some braids, try to be black because his style was kind of blackish. And, you know, but I'm glad that he can turn this embarrassment in it because like a lot of people didn't even know who he was, but now, now they do. But, you know, man, just Clarissa is fighting the girl who also had malfunction in the ring, man. Like, tie your hair down. I think sisters on the street, they have the right example. You know what I'm saying? Tie your stuff back, take off your ear. You know, you in a fight. You know what I'm saying? You want as least distractions as possible.
Hey, don't they have like
Walk said to take it off, man.
Don't they have some toupees with the chin strap?
Next, what you feel about this stuff, man?
Yo, I was disappointed, brother, man, because look, man, homie, bald is beautiful, man. Man, bald is beautiful, bro. Look, I had somebody, I was somewhere and somebody was trying to bald shame, you know, somebody. I said, look, man, hold on, man, let me tell you something, man. I've been shaving my head since like, you know, mid-late 20s, you know, 26, you know, 27, somewhere around there. And man, I haven't stepped into a barber shop, man, and I don't know how long, man. I had to waste hours of my day, money and whatnot. You know what I mean? I love shaving my head. You know, no offense to people that got hair.
Well, student, Max, let me ask you this.
I like y'all hair. It's pretty. You know what I mean? But man, look, I'm very
man, my hair ain't pretty.
And how I'm rocking it. And these brothers that want to just dress up and whatnot, I was like, man, just be comfortable in your own skin, man. You know what I mean?
But student, let me ask you this. That transition period from 25 to 26, how did you feel in that interim where you went from hair to hairless?
Oh, bro, it was easy, bro. I remember because I remember like it was yesterday because I was went to the sister that be braiding my hair, and she was braiding my hair, and then she's like, "Man, it's not connecting. It's not connecting the same right here." I was like, "We mean not connecting?" You know what I'm saying? And then she showed me. I was like, "Oh, it's starting to thin out right there." And I was like, "Man, look, I already know what to do." You know what I mean? She's like, "What you gonna do, man? I'm shaving my hair tonight." You know what I mean? She's like, "What you mean? I'm shaving my hair. I'm right. I'm getting bald. I don't know. Shaving my head." You know what I'm saying? Just like crazy. That, bro. And I never looked back. I remember my baby. You know, she seen me. She's like, there. You know, she was, you know. So it was adjustment for others, but for me, I had already adjusted. You know what I'm saying? Because I already knew how I was gonna do. If that situation came up at any point in my life, it was already a plan. You know what I mean? So,
hey, you know, let's talk about that because you talk about head shaming. I remember a homegirl had a post on her Facebook talking about, you know, y'all need to keep them hats on and stuff like that. And I'm like, hold up. I know these sisters with these fake ass weaves and all this other stuff clowning somebody about hair. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, we got to be better than that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I agree. Shave it all off.
Look, I accessorize with various hats, but a lot of times I'm like my head, you know, ain't no shame. You know what I mean? Straight up.
Hey, I remember one time. I was, you know, I cut my hair all off and stuff, you know, whatever. But I remember cutting my hair and not remembering, like, damn, did I even cut the top off? But I was like, it's either I was bald or I was old, or it's like whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's like the same difference. So I just understand with age, you know, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I agree with that. Hey, do not be ashamed.
I think I'm a victim of the shame because I've been having the long locks since 2003. And just recently I cut it. And as you can tell, I've been wearing hats most of the time. Like it started thinning, and I was like, hell, I'm not gonna be looking like the Ellie and George Jefferson. So I was like, man, just cut it down. So it's cut down, you know, but then you know, it started moving back too and receding. So I don't know, man.
Just
hey, you look clean, brother. You look clean, bro. You know what I'm saying? So eventually you might be in the club, you know, you'll be welcomed and embraced. You know what I'm saying?
Come on in, brother.
Yeah, I mean, good. Come on. You know what I'm saying?
LeBron been working his way over there, so that's what's up. So hey, let's talk about there was another fight. There was another Shakur. What was his name? What was that fight?
Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez, who was from Honduras. Don't get up here. I hope y'all don't be like all the Mexican
We about
guys.
to do it.
He's from Honduras.
And what did that guy say
Raza.
about what did that guy say about Shakur before?
Well,
he
he
was
said a
calling
lot of. He said a
He was
lot
calling
of.
out black people.
Yeah.
You said what?
He was
Go ahead,
calling
say.
out black people, talking about who the next N-word that's gonna come and get this ass whooping. This is before the fight. So he had a whole bunch of disrespectful stuff to say about black people. And Jason Walk said that this was normal, but he was like clowning black people and coming with props like bananas and things of that nature and say which monkey want to get whipped on next. Oh, damn, that looks foul.
Ouch.
So it was very important for him to get this ass whooping from Shakur Stevenson, and that's why that was one of the main reasons that Terrence Crawford was there, and Terrence Crawford was clowning him after the fight. They had to push Terrence Crawford back because Terrence Crawford was taunting him in his face, and the dude looked bad. He got beat pretty bad, and then they said he apologized. I didn't see no apology.
He apologized in his own ignorant way. He did after the fight, during the interview in the ring.
Oh, okay.
But wait, let me. Y'all making it seem like this is like years of this. He was doing this. I'm talking about like from when Terrence Crawford fought Earl Spence. He sent Terrence Crawford a basket of bananas. You know what I'm saying? Like he been trolling these guys for years. But guess what? Like they all fuck with him. Like him and his dad, they from Honduras. You know, it's sort of like being from Puerto Rico, where a lot of them kind of get the pass on saying the N-word. That's just what it is. Like whether you agree or not. But like Teofimo Lopez, he's an excellent fighter. He beat Lomachenko. He beat him at 23 years old. He beat Lomachenko. That's how he became one of the youngest division champions. So, you know what I'm saying? That's why the fighters, they're not really mad at him, but they are happy that he got his ass whooped that whole fight. He lost every round, but they gave him one round. But, yeah, you know.
Just to add to what Wong said, most of the black fighters, they don't consider him racist because they you know, boxing is a small fraternity. They all know each other. They know him, and they feel he's not racist. He was just trying to troll to provoke and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, just generally speaking, in New York, he's kind of, I know he's, Mark said he's Hondureño, but they get classified as Boricua, as Puerto Rican. So they just, you know, Puerto Ricans in New York culture, you know, that are closely associated with blacks, they use the N-word too. They think of themselves.
The Blaxicans.
Yeah, black, yeah. So, but, yeah, that's it.
It's Hondureñan, not Honduras. I don't know what you said. I ain't never heard that. Hondureñan. That's what it's really called.
I know my bosses get mad when I say Honduran.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the English way of saying it. Yeah.
Pops from Honduras.
He's Honduran.
Them tethers will set you straight. But you got something to say about this, Mr. Student X?
Yeah. Viva la Raza, let me tell you that right now. And then also Afro, you know, he took the words, you know, right out of my mouth. And it's funny how he set himself up, because we're gonna get into the subject here in a second. And oftentimes, you know, what might appear to be racist, if we're just being emotional about some situations, then you'll get that, you'll spark that, you know. But if you get the broader picture, if you see everything in full context, you know, then it's like, okay, you know, I still don't like it, you know what I mean, you know, but, you know, hell, it's not that, you know. And to me, if someone, the way they do it, you know, in some of these places now, you know, if you're really trying to combat racism, the way you would do it is not to react, you know, to Cat, you would just shut off his money and not allow him to compete. You know what I'm saying? You know, that's a more grown up, you know, and wise way to move, you know, instead of just being emotional and reacting. And then I'm going to give us that caution, you know what I mean, as we transition to some of these other topics as well.
Before we leave the Shakur Stevenson thing, what was the situation about him? They taking his belt because he didn't pay that fee.
Same situation with Terrence Crawford, right?
No. This is because he was supposed to fight somebody else, but he didn't. So he had a mandatory, and he took Teofimo Lopez. But that's for the belt he had at lightweight. Like this was super lightweight, 140. This belt he fought right here, but he was at 135, and that's the belt that he lost. It's not the belt he won.
Junior welter, right? It was a junior welter with Lopez.
Yeah. Right.
So I mean,
you was about to say something else, Pooh?
Now let's get to the getting. Let's go.
He brought up something about something might appear racist. Let's go ahead and talk about Mr. Trump and his picture of the Obamas and stuff like that. So the bottom line is he put up this video. He posted it like 2 something in the morning, and it's a video that basically shows Michelle Obama and Barack Obama, their heads on apes. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, he says that some people basically his press secretary is like, oh, it's just a whatever, it's another video, it's just a play on the Lion King. But a lot of people was talking about there wasn't no apes in the Lion King. I actually ain't seen the Lion King, so I can't speak on it. But I'm just saying that, look, whether you intend something, you got to understand these type of connections. I'm just saying that whether it was negligence or whether it was intentional, it's still basically a flag on the play. At the end of the day, this dude is, I'm sorry that this was even in the camera, but still, I'm just saying, but the bottom line is that you can't do that, you know what I'm saying? So, that's let me pass it to somebody else. Finish my banana.
I mean, what would you say about as far as it appearing to be racist student next?
Student next, tell us about it.
Wait, hold on. You said I said something about this, Stubby?
Earlier, you were talking about the boxers.
You alluded to it.
I thought you were talking about Trump.
You said things appear to be racist.
Y'all easy to play with. Man, let me tell you something. First of all, I got to go back to Mr. Nice real quick. Brother, you mean to tell me, because I'm going to go watch it today, in the whole Lion King depicted in Africa, there wasn't not one monkey inside the...
I said ape. There was one like orangutan, I think, or something like that.
No, but you said there's not a monkey. They don't show a monkey in the whole Lion King.
I said an ape. There's an orangutan, if you want to call an orangutan a monkey or something like that. Or there's one that what's that one character?
Rafiki is a monkey. There are no apes in it.
Yeah.
There's no chimps or gorillas or
Okay.
All right.
Nice guy sure got a lot of detail for never seeing it before too.
Yeah, because I do my research. My brother Watt told me if I don't know something, I need to do my research, and I respect my brother. So I'll go on.
Yeah, no. I mean, here's what I'll say about the post. Is that it's dumb. The thing is that I'm gonna look at it from an objective standpoint, which is. From what Trump is saying, they questioned him outside Air Force One, and then he was saying, "Look, man, my post was not a mistake," and he was standing firm on that. But then he also, alluded to the fact that he didn't know that he didn't watch it to the end. There was something that popped up at the end of it, and what have you. Did he know? Did he not know? Should he been more firm on saying, that it wasn't cool? He did give somewhat of an apology, from what they said when they were asking him in terms of did he think it was racist? And he said, of course I do. I wouldn't like it either. You see what I'm saying? So I really think it's a nothing burger, but I think that when you look deeper at this, we got to be wise and understand what's at play here. I think what is at play here for sure, without a doubt, is that there are entities that seemingly are trying to stoke the fire and want a civil war. And it makes total sense because the majority of the people right now, they have their eyesights more on the government itself, conservative or a liberal. You know what I mean? None of us are happy with how the government is getting down, period. And so when you start having situations like
Oh, shit.
Good. I'll take over from here.
Oh,
so
damn. That was an accident. My bad, student next. I did that on accident. Just log back in.
Oh my goodness!
If I can take it really quick,
that was a big
left
mistake.
off.
I was setting up to go.
The Jews.
Damn.
We know the whole conclusion was the Jews. So, but the thing for me is no apology.
Damn.
He blames it on the staffer. And, he talks about Biden signing things and not being properly aware of reviewing what he's signing. When he promoted, you had your staff person, whoever, put this video out and they didn't see it till the end. The video was 60 seconds. That's incompetence. You didn't say anything. Are you going to fire, demote, reprimand this staffer who put this video out on a world platform to represent the president's issue, and he didn't bother reviewing a 60-second video before he put it out? I'm going to let go ahead and take the mic back. But Black people didn't need this to for them to recognize that Trump is racist. They've been saying this before 2016, and this is just another mere confirmation. He didn't apologize, as y'all call it, backtrack.
How many you need? Like,
I'm saying, he never set the criteria for what would make Trump racist. Because if you do, we can show you instances where he is racist. Because racism, you know, and measuring it or capturing it is hard. You know, you can but Black people know intuitively, because we've been the biggest victims of racism. They know it when they see it, and they've been saying this for the last 11 years. The right is just now catching up. You know what I'm saying? The left is actually right. The liberal,
they all racist. They all racist.
Hey, but
you see, Candace Owens and Andrew Schultz and Tucker, Bro Rogan, they're getting props now for recognizing what Black people have been recognizing since 2015. They can see it in the birther movement. They can see it in his pardoning of January 6th, calling white supremacists, oh, you're just good old boys, good patriots. Man, Black people have been seeing this. Y'all don't get no for being Johnny come lately. I get an acknowledgement. You're dumb because you're
real quick. Student next. My bad, but I kicked up on next. I clicked the wrong button.
Yeah, it's all good, and look, and that's why. But the whole thing is that I'm glad it happened, because where Afro picked up at is perfect, because I'm saying, bro, I mean, I think pretty much everyone recognized that we don't like Trump. You know what I mean? You know, and there's some who argue different. You know, my brother Yusuf is one. You know, he sees it a little bit differently. You know, but like I said, to me, that's not even the main debate and what should be our main focus. The main focus is there are forces that is trying to stoke us, into emotion and have us play a part and play a role in some sort of civil war, when our focus should be on government itself. Because no matter whether it's a Democrat or Republican, we catch hell under both of them, and we don't get exactly what
we're talking about. Trump, right?
I'm talking about Trump.
Trump is the one that's smoking the shit.
Yeah, when you say the government, that's Trump.
Trump's not government, bro. Trump has a whole cabinet. There's a whole deep state, that exists as well. People that
are somebody else
unelected that's there. So
somebody else who is sending ICE to.
We don't have an emperor here.
It's somebody else that's sending ICE to these cities. It's not Trump. It's not Trump who's sending out ICE.
It's administration.
Okay. It's his administration who's following whose orders.
Is Trump not the government? Yeah. Do they not control the Senate?
No, Trump is not the government. The president cannot do anything he wants or she wants. There are processes that exist. That's how it works. What I mean? But are there people? Did he put a bunch of yes men, and yes women, in positions, of power? Absolutely he did.
Now, speaking on the yes man, his top black yes man came out and spoke against it. He said, praying it was fake. It was the most racist thing I've seen out of this White House. It was the most racist? Really?
That's the most racist?
Come on, man.
That's funny for him to come out. But, hey, I want to read something that a friend of the show, The Mad Loke, posted on Facebook today. And he said, seen a lot of people angry over Trump posting. Okay, yeah, there we go. I'm not even mad. How can you fault the devil for being or acting like the devil? How quickly some of you forget that we are dealing with demons. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad been telling us about how these devils have you forgotten. This is what I agree on. They gonna do that racist stuff because that's who they are. That's what they do. And guess what? It's not just Trump. All of them. What he did was sick, was disgusting, was totally inappropriate, disrespectful to our first black president, who didn't do much for black folks anyway, and the beautiful Michelle Obama. It was terrible. but he's sticking to his Trump script. He's not going to even apologize or nothing. That's how he get out.
This is not the bar that a lot of conservatives and even Black MAGA. This is not what they've been promoting about Trump. They talked about Trump is going to drain the swamp. He's playing 3D chess. Now, he's now they've just arrived. People like Candace Owens and Tucker that he might be a little un-American. Un-American. He's a fucking fascist. We've been saying this since 2015. He's dumb. He's a liar. And the fact that they are recently, just now in the last couple of months, arriving at this, not promoting this other image of him, says a lot about their intelligence.
Okay,
how are they?
Hold on a second. Next.
Go ahead, El Poo.
how can you be mad at the Lion King for lying?
Ooh,
Number one.
that's a horn right there.
Number two, let's look at this. Didn't JD Vance just say a few weeks ago that white people do not have to apologize for being white any longer?
Yep.
So they just being white.
Damn.
Yo, hey, El Poo, you gotta make that an image quick, bruh. The lion image with lion. You know what I mean? That's you, bro. You just created that, bro. That's hard. That's hard right there. You hurry up.
Hell yeah.
Speaking of Trump,
the left was right and the right was wrong.
Speaking of Trump's image, let's let his image speak for himself. This is what happened. This Trump
are coming up with new opioids faster than the government has been able to keep up. We're going proactive on these new chemicals.
That's good. No, I hear fantastic things. Thank you all very much. Please.
Thank you.
Mr. President, can you respond to the new Fox poll that says people think ICE's tactics are too aggressive? Fox reporters without cameras were going.
So they've been calling that the start of the deal. So again, I'm not really trying to clown.
What was it?
So there was
He's shitting on himself doing press conferences.
Yeah, so
he
you
took
heard
the whole
the noise.
shit on himself.
You heard the noise, and that they illustrated with the little cloud puff. So if you go back and play this video, you'll see the point in time, so you can listen. You can hear it yourself. You can even see the facial reaction of some of the people behind you. Well, one of the things that was really telling is that he did not get up, and they rushed everybody the hell up out of there. So you know what I'm saying. At the end of the day, I'm not trying to old shame a old person for doing something old, and I'm telling you, man, sharks happen. You know what I'm saying. If you're not feeling right, you don't trust them farts, man. Them farts will do you wrong, and I'm just saying that. So he talked about Biden, but I'm just saying it. It feels like most of the complaints that he made about Biden apply to him right now. So
Sleepy Joe, shitty Don.
Hey, but real quick, I want to, on a more serious note, I think it's crazy that today we don't celebrate when someone takes a position and then they're wrong. They admit they're wrong, you know what I mean? And then we don't have to necessarily celebrate it, you know what I mean? But hell, you at least get a, you know what I mean?
I agree. I agree with you, student X. To me, you got to give someone, first of all, you got to encourage them to do the right thing. If you just cut them off and condemn them, they might as well just continue to do bad. So I do think after a fashion. But his apology was half-handed. He acknowledges that it was racist, but he's also saying that.
No, I'm not talking about Trump. For the record, I'm not talking about Trump. I'm talking about we're talking about like Candace Owens and the Tuckers and whatnot that are now, they've seen the light. They're understanding a lot more, about what's going on, and so are millions of their followers and the tens of thousands of viewers that are watching them, every single episode live. They're bringing them right along, as well too. And so I'm just saying that, great. That's good. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing.
Well, no, that's not. They don't really get any props for that because you were wrong for 11 years. And when you really go into why a lot of them changed their position, it was for money. They disassociation with those groups and those people. That happens with movements. Lincoln Rockwell was assassinated by the Ku Klux Klan. Yet
I'm not saying that with Tucker or Candace. They would make more money if they went the other direction.
I'm inclined to agree with that. let's not do
Okay.
too much on that.
Okay.
Sadly, we lost. I really wanted to ask Walk about the whole Glorilla sister thing. Now that he's not going to be here, I don't know how much even relevant even want to talk about it. Well, let's talk about this. The thing about the Glorilla sister, she, there's a video of her basically calling out Glo, saying that look, she's all flossing and doing great, but her family, we struggling, we're not doing all this other stuff. And my position is that, look, as a grown-up, as an adult, I'm never going to rely on another adult. I appreciate, the fact that if my siblings are doing great, I appreciate that. If my parents are doing great, I tell my parents all the time, if you spend your very last penny on your last day, I hope you had a great time with it. You don't owe me nothing. As a grown-up, I got to get mine. So I'm just saying that the entitlement to this, it just seems super weak. What do you feel about that, El Pooh? Did you see that?
I've seen something about this, but I don't really know too much about it to actually speak on it. I kind of like passed up the story. But I'll tell you this much. I'll just say this much. Your siblings don't owe you anything. It's up to you to do what you got to do. But at the same time, you can't just let your peoples be out there suffering. But some of this stuff don't belong on the internet. That's all I got to say about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't let my family struggle at all. It ain't nothing like that. The bottom line is if I have, you're gonna have after a fashion, but but again, that's not my, if I do that, that's gonna be out of the graciousness of me. I wouldn't be coming at them talking about they owe this to me. That's why I thought that was way out of pocket.
And it's hard on the outside looking in. You can't really judge what's really going on because you don't know all the information. But what was revealed is that she had 10 siblings. When you have 10 siblings, you're bound to have one that's like a Scarface. That's her sister name who's coming up with all these accusations. I don't know what's going on, but using the social media as ransom to get your sister to give you money. Like, I'm as grown adults, I'm not giving a grown adult no money. Well, if they're really, really, I don't want them homeless on the street, but if you got something, I haven't heard anything about her sister, Scarface. What does she have going on? What is her career about? Because I help you towards something, but I'm not just giving you money. You know what I'm saying? If that's the case, I'm not sure. I don't know enough information.
I came out saying that, look, she never gave me anything, but I don't expect anything. You know what I'm saying? Even though, and he's like, I helped her, with her career and stuff like that. But I'm not coming. She don't owe me nothing like that. So I'm just saying that to me, that's the energy. You should take care of family, but family shouldn't feel entitled. What you got to say?
She got 10 siblings though?
Yeah.
God damn it.
To the next. What you got to say about that?
Yeah, man. I have a few friends, but I'm thinking one in particular right now that has a celebrity sister. Doing well, has done well. Throughout her life, and he's one to where he never even expected anything from her, let alone even wanted anything because, he wanted to, as a man, wanted to, do it himself. But of course, if she, if there's something she could assist him in, then that was there and whatnot, but he never even sought it out, so I always appreciated that stance. But between what our brothers just said, El Pooh and Afro, is, they pretty much done said it all. Is that you could tell that this one, of the 10 siblings, is just like real, not very wise because she, like Afro said, she's not even in the mix. You clearly haven't grown a business, so you don't know what the P&Ls are, ultimately what she's even getting, But there is an image and something that she has to do. But by the time it's all said and done, and everyone's paid, she might not be, a balling like you think she is. She generates a lot of money. I can think at times, bro, man, where, I was generating a lot of money, but I had a hell of a lot of expenses.
Yeah.
That was going out. I'm on the road
between gross and net.
Rental cars, eating at restaurants and, and all this other type of stuff, so there's a lot of money that was going out too. So it's like, I wasn't, it may look like I'm extravagant, I'm doing all this, but it really wasn't, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So we talked about that. Let's talk about Kid from Kid and Play. So Kid and Play just had a heart transplant.
Oh.
So yes. So you now again, he's not that much older than us, and it's just a reminder because he talked about how he was just feeling lethargic and he just didn't have energy. He was sleeping long, and he went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, well, let me try to give you some stuff to deal with that, whatever. And his energy never got right. And basically, once he got his heart like tested and stuff, he was diagnosed with congested heart failure. So so they were like, you need a transplant. And fortunately for him, he got one in pretty quick time. So he actually got it and made it through the procedure. Is on the other side, so he's in a much healthier place. But I'm just, it's for real. You got it. When you get these symptoms, you need to do something about them. Someone real close to me, real close family member, just dropped a real big bomb, and it's just this type of stuff where it's like when you get these symptoms, you don't want to hold off. You need to find out. You need to investigate. You know what I'm saying? Give yourself your best chance because these circumstances that play out are real tough. So
hey,
that's what's up.
This is a nice guy. With this story coming out, it made me schedule a physical because that shit is real, man. You don't know when shit gonna happen or if you living healthy or whatever, man. So
yeah, man, it's just that was so I'm
just
glad the brother's doing better.
Quick, just a little statistics. Heart disease remains the leading cause of death in the U.S. and strokes have moved up to number 4, the spot number 4, according to the American Heart Association. On an average, someone dies from cardiovascular disease every 34 seconds. So, and that's even bigger with us. And this is not an individual. We want to do what we can as individuals, but when it becomes this big of a problem, it's really a public issue. And there has to be ultimately a public solution to it. But in the meantime, we know it's preventable. That's the 80%. I don't know if kids' situation was congenital, but 80% of heart diseases are preventable. And there's a lack of education and access to good foods and stuff like that. But just in a nutshell, everyone out there, especially us men, 150 active minutes per week, approximately 20 active minutes per day. That's really 3 or 4 songs. If you can dance to 3 or 4 songs, just move your body, raise your heart rate, 120 so beats per minute for, folks 40 and up. And the recommended daily allowances. People died for this, man, to create this, consumer advocates, the RDA, the nutritional effects that you see on those labels on the back of every food item. Follow that shit. If you actually look at it, you'll see that your proportions are way out of control. Way out of control.
Like a whole bag of chips. That shit like 8 servings, and there been times I eat a whole bag of chips. I'll be like, that shit is fucking ridiculous, dude.
Yeah.
When you travel abroad, you'll see other countries like France, man. Their plate, you can see their plate when they make a plate at all you can eat places. They have so much their sparseness with their food. The proportions are so much smaller than in the United States.
Yeah. Student X, I know that you're. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. What was you about to say?
I was ready to say because of inflation, I stopped eating a whole bag of chips because they cost too much now. So,
well, I know the Student X is probably one of our more conscientious. Shout out to Mr. JC Focus Up, the OG foundational, father of the Focus Up show. But Mr. Student X, I know that your diet, you're really on top of that. So
Well, yeah. The thing is, what's crazy is that, with me, it just started off, to where I was in the grow room and I was responsible for everything around me, the environment, and then I was taking measurements of everything, and it was all to make sure I had maximum yield and harvest and the wonderful flowers at the end of the day. And then it just hit me one day. I was like, damn, I'm doing all this for plants. Why the hell am I doing it for my own family? So then as I started taking that dive down to try to figure out what's the best way to get it, it's still been a battle and a struggle, because even today with all that I've done, I still have to fight and deal with blood pressure. And then it is not because, I'm overweight, I'm not active, not running, but, there's this thing that in particular in Black men that we deal with, called stress, and Black people. Called stress, and so, there's a whole nother aspect of health that we had to look at, which is learning how to manage, stress. And I can't say that I found the complete answer. I take all type of supplements and all type of things. But the whole thing is I want to be around as long as I can in great health. To support my family and my friends. That's the motivation, and I will encourage others to do the same. And then and just to keep studying. You're never gonna know it all. But a big part of where my advocacy is taking me is understanding the role that our government, no matter who's been in power, has been playing in creating a toxic environment and allowing toxins in our food supply, how detrimental to the health it's been to the people, and how even now, even with RFK in power, there's more being done, I would say, but then there's some things that are not being done, so.
You said with RFK.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But there's already been some positive things.
One thing we want to do,
Americans,
stay away from the information of RFK and the SEBI folks. But I do want to big up the point that he said about the stress. Black people in the United States and also in the UK have the highest stress hormones globally. And that's something we as Black people have to be aware of. But there are a lot of ways to self-monitor these days. A simple Fitbit, Apple Watch, you can actually monitor these things. And if you have a healthcare provider, I know that the Trump administration, RDK, are reducing the availability of those things, but it really helps out a lot. And I would say, lastly, if you're a man if you're a woman or whatever, how you identify, having someone in your life, a spouse, but I just say, especially for men, having a woman, because Black women and women in general, they know how to go to the doctor. When something is not right, they go, they make appointments. A lot of men do not.
Thank you, because that was the thing the kid talked about. He goes, look, Black people are resistant to go to the doctor, and he's saying that something, it might be your function of your insurance, what you can afford, might be some type of stigma. But he's just saying that, look, that's something that needs to change. You got to go see your doctor. So thank you very much for bringing that up. That's some real type stuff. And I will say this about RFK Jr. I agree with him about the dyes. Let's get rid of all of that stuff. But yeah, that dude is a little crazy. But a lot of crazy. But yeah, So so after that, let's talk about my screen switch. I had something that I really wanted. Yeah, let's talk about the mother effort. Sorry about this.
That's that kid at heart, though. What you gonna say?
Well, it's kid heart. Well, again, he is a kid at heart. Yeah, exactly. So, but no, I want to talk about the R. Kelly memoirs. Who's watching Shorty. So, this sister was she was the female, the underage person that was in the the R. Kelly urination video. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, again, this video circled out to a lot of people. It was by definition child pornography. It was highly illegal to even share this, to view it, all type of issues. But the bottom line is, I remember when this came out, Sparkle was like, that was my niece, and blah blah blah. And she was like really kind of banging the table about this. And and then at the time the niece was like, yeah, that's not me, that's not whatever. And ultimately, this sister, was operating under Jane Doe. She actually did participate in the trial that actually got him convicted. R. Kelly is in jail now, in part because of the testimony that she gave as Jane Doe. But now she says, look, people know my name. They put my name out there. I want to take my name. I want to own my name. And I basically want to take control of my narrative. So she's putting her name out there. She's putting her memoirs out there. And she just basically is like, look, I went through some stuff. I'm not the only one that went through some stuff. You can learn from my example. But at the end of the day, who's watching Shorty? Who's looking out for these kids? Who's watching these kids to keep them from these predators and stuff like that? So, I salute that sister on that. Afro-agnostic, you are first up on this one. What you feel about this?
Yeah, I really love the title of the book, the concept. I'm chapters in it. I'm reading it, as we speak, because I was really interested in, her story. She was inspired by the Me Too movement. She then established a nonprofit to help, young girls, Project Refine. But I was really interested in just the mechanics of how these predators operate, how they groom, how they isolate and stuff like that. So she talks about how R. Kelly would set up shop. It reminded me of Curry Holcomb, where he would talk about he goes to the McDonald's, the restaurants where, you know, poor working class people work and recruit these girls. And R. Kelly, according to her, did the same thing. And when Dave Chappelle came out with that skit, she was only 18 years old. So it was a lot of insensitivity around, you know, what she was going through, and a lot of stuff about pee and urine. Urine, by the way, is sterile. Is, you know, there's a whole.
You talk about on the Chappelle show when they did
on the Chappelle show. She was only 18 at that time. It was 4 years removed. And, you know, pee is not the issue here. A lot of people engage in pee sports and golden showers. And, you know, we're not trying to freak shame people. Pee is actually
nasty. It's nasty.
Uric acid is okay. So, but the thing is that, you know, she was underage, and, you know, that was not a consensual situation. So that's the big thing. But I like that she's taken something that traumatized her and embarrassed her, kind of like Big Baby, and now she's using it to inform others, and to also, some people I know Walk suggested she's making money. They ran out of money, but if she can make a positive out of a negative and help other little girls, I don't see anything wrong with that.
That's what's up.
Just to say one thing about the P situation, like the Boondocks say, why didn't she move? I mean, I'm just bringing that up. I'm just saying.
Ouch.
I don't get that.
Oh, yeah. I thought the Walk's coming back. Is that? Oh, yeah, he is. So, you know, I'm sorry, Mr. Student Next. I'm gonna let brother.
He want to talk about the P.
No, go ahead, man. Do your thing, shit.
Student Next, go ahead. What you said? What you got to say about this situation?
Yeah, I wasn't aware of the book, you know, and but I do remember that, you know, I was R. Kelly's biggest fan. You know what I mean? When it came to R&B, you know, I bumped R. Kelly hard. You know, I'm talking about, I come into lowrider shows, you know, hitting switches, you know, to some R. Kelly. I'll find a reason to play some R. Kelly. You know what I mean? It was download a remix.
Especially saying he's a player.
Right. You know what I mean? He promoted vibes that, you know, men were attracted to, you know, and then as well. But when I started learning about all this that was going on, I haven't played R. Kelly in years, man. You know what I mean? Because it just don't hit the same. It don't have the same meaning, you know. But and then as I started diving more into, you know, what's happening to the children, not just in America, but abroad, and studying this human trafficking, you know, and all that's going on, then it just, you know, I can't deal with the R. Kelly thing. But I'm glad the sister wrote the book, exposed some things. She was dealing more on a local level, you know, here, you know, with some of these predators within our community in general, you know. But man, this thing, you know, it's bigger than that. You know what I mean? Not to minimize anybody's experience, but, you know, there's a lot of child exploitation going around, and I would like to see it shut down, you know, and I am glad for the Epstein file release.
Brother Watt, you got something to say about this?
This whole case with R. Kelly is a tragedy. It's obvious the dude is sick, but he had a lot of enablers. And I want to start with Sparkle. Sparkle, you ain't worth shit. You fed your niece to that animal. It's like you see a python in a cage and you dropping a little mouse in there. That's what she did. She said, go sit on his lap and rub his head and tell him you want him to be your godfather. See, don't get it twisted. She is filth. She got pissed because she got thrown out the loop because they had trouble with the music, and then her niece was still in there. That's why she started exposing stuff and hollering, hooting and hollering. But if she would have got famous and made millions, she wouldn't have fucking said a fucking word. Her daddy ain't worth shit. Rest in peace. But he still ain't shit in the grave. He enabled it as well. And the mama, who's still alive, she ain't worth shit. They all fed that little girl to R. Kelly, knowing he was a fucking predator. So that's why I heard that interview. I saw it. I watched it yesterday, and I was just totally disgusted. We have to start getting at the people that's enabling these people, that's helping them do their fucking evil ways and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not
Thank you. I was looking for it. I was looking for it.
Thank you, brother, for going there, because they got mad at me a few weeks ago when I had brought up the fact that when Nicest Boy, the Hollywood dude, got killed by his son. And I was like, dude, man, I don't know all the facts and what's going on, but dude, these people be taking children and they be leveraging them for their careers and money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy. You know what I mean? You know, and Walt just illustrated that in this situation.
Oh my goodness. You're talking about, you come on, dude. His kid has a drug problem. That dude has a drug problem. He had a drug
If you've been
episode.
sexually abused and molested and misused
Was he sexually
abused,
abused
you would have a
and
drug
molested?
problem too.
Was he
He was
sexually-
ex. You don't
was he
have
sexually-
no evidence to that.
Yeah, that was such a ridiculous
I'm not
reach.
here to offer any evidence. I'm not here to offer any evidence.
Even-
either.
You can't tie it into R. Kelly then.
I just say real
just
quick.
said that I'm not even making the charge. I'm just saying that was a weird situation because it's like, damn, you know what I mean? It seems like there's a whole lot of
It wasn't.
there,
It was
but,
drugs. It was a dude who had a history of wigging out and going out. He was bugging out at the
Hey, back to the R. Kelly, what Walt was saying, you know what I mean? I appreciate that example. That's what I'm trying to say.
When I just say real quick, I haven't got that. Well, claims made without evidence can be dismissed without evidence, but I haven't got that far in the book. But I didn't get the perspective that she thought of her father and mother and the other Sparkle as enablers. So apparently he was made a godfather to her, which I didn't know when she was 12. He didn't start molesting her until she was 14, 2 years later. I don't know the exact
big difference.
I'm just early in the book, but she doesn't seem to have that perspective. But
I love that you brought up. I love
young kid. She don't know shit. She don't know shit.
Good child.
Listen. I think that I love that he brought up the parents because I have not only an issue with her parents but the other parents. You telling me that your kid is being basically held hostage by this guy, and all you doing is sitting out there protesting outside of that building? I'm just telling you right now, he ain't got enough. He ain't got enough people. His walls ain't bulletproof enough. I'm just saying that, if I'm a parent, my kid's not even going there. What Ice Cube said about Michael Jackson, would you let him babysit your kids? You know what I'm saying? So that's what it is. I'm not saying he's guilty. I'm just saying that under no circumstances would I even subject my kids to whatever may possibly be happening over there. And we know damn well what
she's trying to land out in the book that they don't come out right and give their kids away. There's a grooming, there's a process, there's trust developed over time. I'm just saying that's how it happens. So that's why this book is important, because I don't think her parents were just bad parents. I think
Did the parents see the video? Did the parents see the video?
I don't know if they see the video.
If they saw the video and we ain't never heard nothing about them, if they weren't running all the circuits and talking about R. Kelly the monster, if they basically took some money, like I think Brother Walt said they did, to just be quiet, to just whatever, F that. There ain't enough money. Trust me, I take money. KKK, whatever. You want to send some money, I'll give you my app or whatever. But I'm just saying, it's somebody
R. Kelly is not Michael. Michael was singing about wholesome, for the most part, healthy things. You know what I mean? R. Kelly was known for what he was known for. You know what I mean?
Like
so
he ready. He did mess. I love that song, but he messed up. It seemed like he hit the same.
He married Aaliyah. Like, that was proof enough. See, that's why Sparkle can't talk that shit like, oh, I did this and I did that. We knew what happened in 1994 when he was messing around with Aaliyah. Quit fucking playing. I wouldn't bring no kid around him, boy or girl. But they did it for the money and fame. That's totally disgusting. They fed their kid to R. Kelly for the money and the fame.
The one good thing about R. Kelly.
I don't know. That's it. But yeah. So what were you about to say? Go ahead.
Yeah, the one good thing about R. Kelly that appears is that his appetite and desire seem to be just solely for his own recreation, and he wasn't, focused on helping others with what they might be trying to accomplish. You know what I mean? And that's how some of them operate. When you start looking at these pedophile networks, and when they start getting into Hollywood, they're part of a club, if you will. You know what I mean? So R. Kelly was like off doing his own thing, just being fed. You know what I mean? He was happy. It was where it appears. Compared to others, so it's a sick industry, but this industry, when you talk about human trafficking, if you add up all the drugs, including heroin, is that it make way more, than all the drugs combined. Because with human trafficking, you got the sex trafficking, you got the organ harvesting, you got selling them to the devil worshippers and whatnot and everything, sacrifice, all type of situations.
And you know what's even worse? Some of them become president too.
Ouch. Yeah, take that. Yeah, exactly.
That's a good segue.
Go ahead.
If Trump was all that, man, he would have been being convicted, bro. The Democrats had a whole 4 years to get him. He's back.
How would they convict him? I mean, he was found guilty in the court of law.
Release the real information and intel that really, shows him. Again, now Trump's appetite. Don't never look like it was ever for children. He like women in particular, like the model type, those European ones in particular. You
can't know someone's sex appetite from afar. I mean, there's no way to detect.
He's already talking about.
I'm just saying that's what it appears to me. I'm not saying he's guilty or innocent. But what I'm saying that to me, if the Democrats and those that wanted to take him out had something real, it would have been exposed instead of the other things they were trying to throw at him to try to put them away. It's like if you had some Epstein stuff on him, come with that. Some old lady from 25 years ago that say
while he was running for president, homegirl came out and said she's 13 years old. He did this. This happened before his very first presidency. They squashed this. This actually happened. This was out there during his campaign when he was for his first run. So I'm just saying, you don't act like this is something you just came out.
I'm saying if there was something more there, then you guys would have used that for the lawfare that was
for some reason you take the position that rich people can make stuff go away, or they can.
But
when they turn on one another,
acting like he can't. But you acting like he can't, like he didn't. You don't think he ain't silenced people?
I'm saying it took maybe you saw what happened to Epstein himself, how long it took for him to be arrested. And that's part of why this is an issue. It's not anything about his personal crimes or him being a PDA file or a serial rapist or his personal crimes. It was because he was the head of an elite human trafficking clientele market, and he serviced ultra wealthy white men, and that has they're shielded the most.
And maybe the Mossad. I mean, it's highly likely that he was basically,
the upper elites. They have that level of clearance and security and cushion and legal protection. So it makes perfect sense that someone like Trump, it will be very difficult to get him. It was difficult to get Jeffrey. So, that's the highlight of this whole thing, is that you have different tiers of human trafficking. You got that high, ultra wealthy clientele, and they're very much protected.
And then you'd be making an argument that the Democrats were competent or, actually prosecuting something. So that's a whole nother issue. So I'm saying that
they're part of that clientele too, not just,
exactly. Democrats, Republicans are all across that. So we're talking about the people that have been exposed in the Epstein files. It's really what it comes down to. We've been saying this all along. It's not about calling yourself a Republican, calling yourself a Democrat, because these policies, people change hats, switch hats. It's really about the rich elites with power that can do whatever the hell they want, and the people that don't have power that they can do whatever the hell they want to. So, that's what's going on. So we lost a bunch of people. It's just down to us.
Yeah. No, I get it. We have been going for a second here, but I would say that it's definitely a more than just what you are mentioning in terms of the relevance of the Epstein files. I'm gonna put it how I'm gonna say what President Putin said. He said that in regards to the Epstein files, he said the vampire ball is ending. In reference to these Epstein files. So what these Epstein files has showed us is a number of things. Is when you start looking at people's names that came up in this over and over again, in different entities, none was mentioned more than Israel. right off the bat, in regards to a lot of different situations. There were, we still are seeing that they're not releasing the offenders, the names of the offenders, who these people are, and were, and then clearly when you're going through this information, and I'll admit I haven't gone through all million something, pages and whatnot, right? And then obviously some of us are relying on others to look at some data that we trust and whatnot, who, that this is what they do, but when you start to comb through this information, these networks are so fast, so deep, and they're still being covered up and not exposed. And so there's a lot of people right now. You have killers, murderers, pedophiles still free, and instead of redacting the victims' names as requested, the DOJ has redacted the predators' names. You know what I mean? And so
part of the Student X is that a lot of this stuff isn't necessarily proof. A lot of this stuff is evidence. So that's why, a lot of this stuff would normally be sealed.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? So this is
real.
Yeah.
Piece was mentioned hella times, and now we start seeing more of that. So that whole Pizzagate thing that people were making fun of back then, was real. These are what sexual predators. They have different, names and code words they're using for situations, and then there's been some people that like Obama and others that's been around. And these situations, and people want to know, man, whether it's Trump, whether it's Obama, do we have child molesters and predators in office, representing us and over us? The people are comfortable with that. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. And people are really starting to focus more on what's going on with the government. And so right now, you got other entities that's trying to swing it and turn us on one another. And I was surprised at how you guys responded to that post I sent in regards to what Tucker, was saying. Look up. Quit looking at each other. Yeah, we got issues and things, but man, when we sum up and look at
I don't recall saying anything about Tucker.
That's where it's at.
I don't recall saying anything about Tucker.
You got to look up and to the left. So, but I'm gonna say really quick that this a lot of what's coming from like Candace Owens and others, they're building like this Jewish cabal of children and blood. It's none of that. It's just human trafficking. You know what I'm saying? And human trafficking existed before Israel was even existed. Has nothing to do with Israel in particular. It has nothing to do with Epstein. Epstein could have never lived. Human trafficking would still bring in $50 to $60 billion a year in the United States. At the most, Epstein was making $50 million and maybe extorting people and using that as an extra way to control his clientele, his rich clientele. But that's less than 1% of the annual revenue from human trafficking just in the United States. If you really want to go for like the victims, who are who generates the most victims, is tier 2 and tier 3 type of human traffickers who don't have the ultra rich clientele. They have mostly a middle class client and working class clientele. So those are the ones that are they have the most victims of this human trafficking, not the Epstein.
Yeah, that's a fact. My wife works in that industry, and she works with, the trafficking is real. I mean, when you talk about what's going on in Figueroa, when you talk about what's going on Long Beach Boulevard, I mean, it's out there. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of these people are underage, and you got these pimps. They what they do is they keep these kids drugged up. That's how they deal with it, because it's a tough thing to deal with. You know what I'm saying? To sell your body and doing all this other stuff. It's not just like an easy thing. So, they keep them drugged up. They keep them, they're basically, predatory. So they're being threatening and menacing and all this other stuff. So there's strong argument. There's so many factors involved. And it's just like, it's a terrible, ugly industry. And because there's way more clientele and way more, you're right. They're the high end thing of this thing. They're doing it. It's more expensive per thing.
Yes.
It's part of the pyramid. What are you talking about? You don't have that unless you have Epstein. You know what I mean? It all ties down and trickles down. You know
it's
what I mean?
It's the oldest profession for a reason. Yeah. It preceded Epstein a long time ago. Epstein took the model that was there before and just used it for the elite. He just did it on a high level.
He's not the only one. Epstein's not the only one. You know, he's
But
one
telling
agent, but there's still a hierarchy. You know,
the pimps on the street. They're
doing the same thing. It's just on the lower level.
I'm not saying that you can't have someone. It's just like in the let's say the weed game, right? It is you have it. The regulated licensed weed, people go do all their things, and you get the dispensaries, you go get your weed. But hell, you know that don't stop Joe Blow from down the street to putting something in his garage or growing something in his backyard. You know, packaging it up and selling it himself. He can access that. You know what I mean?
When it comes to pimps and prostitutes, that exists. But when it comes to pimps and prostitutes, that model that's more people, that's involving more people. It's the local thing because it's not like cocaine. It's not like something that you have to get flown in from somewhere.
Okay. Well, I'm not. That's not necessarily why I'm arguing, but we're talking about the relevance and its impact. The relevance is its impact is a whole lot different because what you're talking about on the street level, for the most part, you know what I mean, is we're just talking about just sexual satisfactions and gratifications and
it's more victims
and whatnot.
It's more victims.
You know what I mean? You know that's what we're talking about that, but that's not. Everything was on a different level, and those that operate like it.
On the small, like on the small level, those pimps on the street, you know, they probably, you know, they don't have that much. They're just small level, but it's the mid range. They have the most victims. I'm saying the Epsteins, those elite clientele folks, have the least victims. They exploit the least.
I see what your argument is. You're going into victimhood, and I look. You know, I'm not going to disagree with that. You know, the victim is a victim
that are abused and exploited.
That's the worst thing. The victims are the worst thing in this whole situation. So that's really all I
you
care
guys
about.
just had one in LA. You know, just this past week, where it was like 200 people. You know, arrested. You know, human trafficking and whatnot that's going on. You know, so but like I said, but then when you're talking about a lot, when you're looking at that level, you're talking about that these are networks and these aren't just your regular pimps and hoes and whatnot. You know, even a lot of those other pimps and hoes you're talking about, they can't just operate and just set up shop and just operate. You know, you might be able to do it for a second, you know what I mean? But as soon as you start infringing in someone else's territory, you know, an area, you know what I mean, you know, then you're gonna get shut down. One way or another.
They have brothels, they have hotels, they have
you know what they do. And there's wars behind that stuff, bro. You know what I mean? You know, you have those that's well funded and cartel, and and syndicate, and backed by even sometimes other different entities, that are well financed and backed, and then you have the smaller level people and whatnot. And then when those two come in clash, they always trying to gobble up market share. The game.
Now, I will say this. I will say the higher end, the Epstein end, they can use that stuff to have influence on powerful people.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
That's not the whole thing, but you're right that they can impact policy more, and that stuff plays out. But I'm just saying, at the end of the day, the people that have my sympathy the most in this entire situation is not people that have been. It's not people that have influence, that are being forced to do things that they don't want to do, that did something bad, that's what's being leveraged against them. My greatest concern is always going to be with the victims, and that's going to lie with the people that are being trafficked. So that's what I'm saying.
Sure, ain't no one going to argue that, but my greatest concern is going to be removing the emotion behind it all and looking at, okay, well, if this victim over here is just, there's a John over here, and John, victimize this person, that's bad. We need to catch John, help victim, who might end up turning back, to the same lifestyle because of situations, that's bad. We got to deal with it. But I'm saying it's way more relevant when you have that situation play out with, again, someone in power who now is influenced to impact the masses, on a major level, that, harms many, many, many more. You know what I'm saying?
There's more
that's what Epstein's, represent, and what these lists and these people that are empowerment, that are being protected, the people need to continue to fight to make sure we get the names of these offenders, those who victimize these people. And the same is true on the street level too. I love that show where they set up people and they come, thinking,
why they had to stop that show?
Yeah. I love that show,
why they stopped that show?
Yeah, because they kept catching the high end people, in situations. You know what I'm saying? Like that. You know what I'm saying? So, but no, this is why, honestly, why you have, this is where I'm not gonna say defending Black MAGA, but Black MAGA, when they really came on hard with Trump, was really behind the human trafficking efforts that Trump was perceived and his base was perceived to really be going after and focusing on those in power, who are these, sick individuals, and exposing them and then ultimately bringing them to justice. That's what swooped in a lot of Black MAGA. You know what I mean? So I give them,
and then they found out that was a farce.
And now MAGA is dead. Across black, white, red, bright blue.
I just want to say that.
It's dead.
So, again, this doesn't begin or end with Epstein or Israel. This is human trafficking. It's tied into, believe it or not, patriarchy. Because I put out a video on this Afro-agnostics on the Epstein situation. And it's nothing that Epstein did that would have been illegal if he were born before 1920. It was okay with prostitution and also okay to have consensual, or the age of consent was, I think, about 14 years old. So because of women rights groups, because of men who supported them, we got the age of consent changed based on neurology and what we found out about the brain and so forth. Years later in the 20th century, but this has kind of been normality of patriarchal society, of society ran by men for millennia. That's why we can say human trafficking has been around since forever.
And that's why we call it the world's oldest profession.
Victims, not men.
So let's do this. Let's tie this up. Let's talk about let's end this on Trump nationalizing the election. I'd be very interested to hear what's your take on this Student X. I mean, are you familiar with what he's trying to do with that? Because I understand you didn't get a chance to do. Normally, you do like very intense preparation for the show, and I understand we were fortunate just to get you. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't trying to put you on the spot, but to the extent that you don't know, we'll set the table if you don't. But
I read something briefly on it, but go ahead and set the table, and then let's talk about it.
Okay, so you're a little bit more familiar with this Afro-agnostics?
Oh yeah, I have my take on it. I think
Go ahead.
They're trying to, of course, they want to control the outcome of the mid-term elections, and in order to do that, they need to cheat. You know what I'm saying? And in order to do so, they want to nationalize. The Republicans want to nationalize the elections, which is normally a state function. As far as collecting.
Well, wait, in all fairness, you said the Republicans. Do the Republicans? There's been a lot of opposition from some Republicans. Trump is the one to put it out there. So before we go color,
as usual, Republican resistance to it is little to zero, maybe a few. I've heard Paul, what's his name? Paul Rand say something against it. And
maybe it's not a big outcry, but let's keep it Trump at this point, and then we can talk about them. We can suck them into Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt your point. I just wanted, I didn't want to bash.
Yeah, that's it. That's the and I think this was the plan all along with ICE, and they were trying to test out different cities, Illinois, California, Seattle, to see what would bite. Could there be a killing of citizens or a killing of ICE, so that they can use that as a pretext to enact the Insurrection Act, which allows them to indirectly control the election, because you're intimidating people. You set up National Guard or ICE agents at poll places, which intimidates voters, which lessens the turnout. And there's so many other mechanisms you can do. They just came to Fulton County, the FBI, they just came here and took the data from the 2020 elections. So they're looking at this data, trying to figure out what they can tweak to change the outcome of the election. And that is the whole goal of what Trump is doing, which is what fascists do fascism. Every fascist government does this. They nationalize elections. They take away the power of the people. They take away democracy, and that's what Trump is doing.
So now that you have that, what's your response to that, Student X?
Yeah, I can understand how that could be a concern of people's. I mean, looking at how Trump has gotten down. Now, of course, the flip side of the coin is, the Republicans, and conservatives, they're going to say that, hey, we too want to make sure that we have free and fair elections. And this is the way, they help ensure it. Me, myself, again, we're going to be given, two sides of the coin that none of which, is in our best interest, so, I'm a little less concerned with it, at this stage of the game, because, we definitely need to have more third parties that come into this thing. But I can see that Trump, is going, to be concerned with his chances, and not necessarily his chances, but, obviously the party's chances, on this election cycle, because, there are some things that, the base feels that he's done well, but there's a whole lot of situations that even his own base is not happy with, so.
Just to add too, what's the lady that's the head of the
Tulsi Gabbard? Gabbard?
No, I forgot her name.
You talking about the FBI?
Yeah, the FBI lady. I forgot her name.
That's what I thought her name was.
But when there was an outcry in Minnesota, she tried to broker a deal that if they would pull ICE out of Minnesota if they gave over their voting data. That's on record. So, I mean, it's clear what he's trying to do. It's not like a little thing we can brush off. This is a major gargantuan difference between the parties. The parties are different. Yeah, they're racist, both, but they're not both equally racist. That's ludicrous. A lot of people from the right try to put out that perspective. They take different positions at different times. Like, for instance, the Republican Party was anti-slavery during the 19th century, during the 1860s. The Democratic Party was pro-slavery. That's a big difference. It wouldn't be wise for Black people to say, there's no big difference between them. Let's just choose no. Republicans. That's why Black people became Republicans. When you speak to our issues, we will come. If you don't, we won't. When the Democratic Party picked up civil rights, Black people jumped to the Democrats. If they want if you want Black people, you got to speak to the Black issue. So because they're not the same. At any given era or time, the parties are not the same politically.
They don't want Black people, based on, some of what we've seen, for sure, but I'm not so sure that Black people should want, again, any of these choices at all, or white people for that matter.
They're just taking the best options that are out there. It's not it's to their advantage. Like, it would be stupid, again, for Black people to not get behind the Republican Party if they're anti-slavery during the time of slavery. It's a no-brainer.
And the thing about it is, we talk about these third parties and stuff. Again, if the third party has enough steam to be a factor, that's one thing. But in many circumstances, what you'll be doing is just basically taking away that vote and taking away a vote from something that would have put you in a better position to allowing the thing that's going to hurt you the most to basically win just by majority. So again, you can have this. There's no limitation to how many parties.
Establishment is not trying to allow that. So that's the whole thing. They don't even give the same platform and allow the same opportunities to fundraise, and those that where the money are coming from, the way all this money is in politics, then those people who give the money is not trying to give the money to them either. You know what I mean?
You say that there's rules about giving people certain time on TV and stuff like that. I'm not going to say it's
promoting the rules to try to keep it, make it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's one party that's really working to exploit that. No, one party is going to make. One party is really working to game the system. One party is maybe trying to counter some of that gaming, but the question is that one of them is definitely not making this about democracy or making it about the people. It's basically about winning at all costs. And I'm just saying, if it's supposed to be a democracy, that seems to fly in the face of that. So I'm just saying.
I think that people are starting to wake up slowly but surely that that's not what we have. You know what I mean? We have a government that's based on and being run by the ruling so-called elite.
That's all I got to say about that. So that having been said, so that having been said, we appreciate you for watching. We went a little overtime because we didn't have the latest shows. I got to take care of some family business. But
you got to go real quick. The last thing we did talk about was again Iran. I mean, my God, bro. I mean, that
wasn't on the list. But if you want to talk about something, go ahead and say what you got to say.
I mean, the main thing I think that that we still have to recognize is that we just got finished having, when I say we, the United States American government led by Steve Witkoff, a real estate guy, Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, and then there was this, this guy that was an admiral,
no DI.
You know what I'm saying?
Meritocracy.
But the whole thing is just it's funny because to me it's still a bunch of like theater, because Iran's position is real simple. That look, we'll talk about the nuclear program, but we know that we were beating the hell out of Israel, and then with our ballistic missile program, that we're creating 300 of those joints a month, to where you guys only create 20. Ours are cheaper, and that Israel views this as an immediate existential threat, over any type of nuclear, concerns that you guys have had. And that's non-negotiable. We're not talking about it. It's kind of like, with Russia on giving back, certain territories. Like, that's not even on the table, and so where things are at right now is that essentially, what's going to happen? Massive buildup that's there. I think Trump is full of shit. I don't think he's going to do anything, because speaking of these elections, that he can't. The U.S. only has a few, maybe like a week's worth of missiles. A week or two worth of missiles. To where they could use for offensive capabilities as well as defend against any incoming attacks, and they have nothing that could stop what Iran has. The drone that just got finished getting so-called shot down. It's so funny because the whole thing is that this drone infiltrated a whole carrier group, took recon photos of flight decks in the group, positions, did all this data, and then they had to scramble an F-35 to shoot, this multi-million-dollar missile to blow up a $20,000 drone, when all the data had already got transferred.
How could you possibly know what the military stockhold? I'm just saying, how could you possibly know what United States military capabilities as far as their weaponry and all this other stuff with any real respectable certainty?
Oh, bro, that's easy, bro. Because the thing is that I'm not relying on student X knowledge. Through the years I've known who to tap into in the military community and intelligence community that shares their information and no longer part of that, and has been sharing their intel, with a world for years, and have a track record of what they putting out, and then what's been accurate, and then what's not.
You don't think they manipulate what's being put out versus what they actually have?
Like I said, I have like people who I follow and I'm up on top of and I rely on. That I've been on top of.
I'm talking about their information.
I'm just saying, decades in some cases.
You know how the government works with the media and stuff like that, or even agents work in sports. They release certain information. They do it to basically drive a narrative. I'm just saying that. I understand.
I'm familiar with like intelligence.
My point is that you can have all these people that tell you that they got their finger on the watch and stuff like that. But once you're outside of the loop, how much information are you actually getting as far as what's going on?
Now we have so much access to that. I can tell you the drone that was used, the Shahed 139. It's a medium altitude, long range.
But I'm talking about how many they have.
I can tell you its configuration.
But I'm talking about how many they have. You're talking about things that you know about. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that there's things that they have development, things that are functional, that they're using that you may not know about. I'm just saying.
Really quick.
I'm not saying I'm all knowing, and the sources I have are all
knowing. The Pentagon is probably next to the healthcare industry the most corrupt institution, and it's a part of the government. They haven't done an audit in 7 years. we don't even know what they have. They don't even know what they have because they haven't even done an inventory of all of what they have and stuff like that. So we couldn't possibly know what Iran has. I just want to say real quick, when it comes to donation reform, the Democratic Party is by the most consistent and aggressive promoter of financial campaign reform, limits on large donations, publicly funded. But actually, the Green Party does even more than them. But guess who does the least? Who fights against financial donation from the Republican Party? So again, another big difference between the groups. Just I want to emphasize to the audience out there because we kind of left on that point. But I don't know. You're giving all this information about Iran to say what? I'm not clear. Are you saying that?
Yeah, because if you're telling me that if you're telling me the United States doesn't want to completely F over Iran, you're saying that they don't have the military capability to do that?
No, unless they use nuclear weapons, and then that is something that is
So
of
they do
course
have
always on the
military
table, but and is a concern because the big concern is that if they do attack Iran, then we already know the game plan, and the game plan is Iran is going to shut down the Strait of Hormuz, is going to blow up the Saudi oil fields, and right out the bat, that just cripples and destroys our market. And the other thing it's going to do is most likely is sink an aircraft carrier, because in today's modern warfare, aircraft carriers are more of a legacy thing, projecting power. They're not really against, these modern nations. They're obsolete. They don't even mean anything.
I just say, we know that the United States has a larger military than Iran, has more resources.
No, that's not the issue here. The issue here is, and then what Iran does have, and Iran, what they do have is their ballistic missile capabilities and hypersonic weapons that are unstoppable, that they can again wipe out our economy before even firing one shot. Not to mention bases. Every base inside the Middle East is within range of their missiles, and they can take out those missiles, with no problem. Hold on, go ahead. This is my lawyer, real quick, y'all. I gotta get on with her in a second, but let me pause and let you respond.
Okay. So yeah, I'm just saying they are militarily superior. The United States is military superior, but I believe that a boots down on the ground, they would lose because it's just not about military power.
Of course, boots down on the ground. I mean, hey, the United States got its ass kicked by Vietnam. We understand the boots on the ground is a completely different dynamic. What you're talking about, we're talking about airfare. We're talking about planes. We're talking about missiles. We're talking about
attacking Iran. They've been attacking Iran since the 19th.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. To me, that's a ridiculous position.
Iran been is still here and been around, and they've been on the list forever. And they tried multiple. They just tried to take down Iran just recently. They've
never blown a country off the map. We know that they're still here, but what I'm saying is that they it's just strategically, how can they not, like you said, disrupt their flow coming in from the Middle East, and that's why Israel is there in the first place. They know when Israel bombs them, that's really the United States. And Israel, again, saves them a lot of money so they don't have to go there and fight Iran and that's going to be a disastrous thing. So,
they do. And that's not to say fight Iran. What it is defend Israel. And what it means to defend Israel is spend
why would they defend Israel?
Millions of dollars.
Why would they defend Israel?
That's the dog wagging the tail.
Yeah, why would they defend Israel?
Why? Well, who defend the United States government?
Yeah, why?
Bro, I mean, that is what many American citizens, want to know. Or why are we spending so much money on Israel? Why are we giving them all this? And then that's where people feel like these Epstein lists coming
a lot more.
Things that nature.
They will be spending a lot more if they put boots on the ground in Iran. That's why Israel is there.
No, but the whole thing is that there's no strategic rationale for America to be messing with Iran at all, period. And that's what Trump got elected on, was that he wasn't supposed to be projecting and promoting these foreign wars and things of that nature. You know what I mean? But, and then that was the whole thing. And then when it comes to the lying-ass media that we talk about, this legacy media, mainstream media, is that when we start having false reports and information being given to the American people, just to help ramp up, and arouse Americans to support something that is not in our best interest, that's been a problem.
Have you read a book on Iran, or like the country of the political history of Iran?
What about the political history of Iran?
Have you read a book on the political history?
Yeah, not only have I read a book, Iran is one of my favorite governments, a period out there in the world right now.
Period. You mean period?
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I'm particular to Russia. But yeah, Iran. I like what Iran is doing and how they leverage the moves they made. Since coming into the Islamic, institution came into power.
Okay. Okay. We just say Iran was in the middle of the 20th century a leftist government, and the United States militarily intervened in Iran and replaced that leftist government with the Shah of Iran, and that created leverage on the right. So kind of like a lot of what Russia has done through propaganda here.
People don't like the Shah, did they?
I'm saying Ayatollah was more extreme Islamicists that came because when you destroy and sabotage the left, what it does is build up the right-wing movement, the religious right in Iran. That's a religious right. That's a crazy government, but nonetheless, they are resistant to U.S. imperialism. There's no pure good guys or bad guys in the story here, but why the United States is in the Middle East is called imperialism. It's just that simple. The Middle East was a British. Do
you think I'm arguing that point? I'm confused.
Well, he's saying that Israel is something that Americans use in Israel. You know what I'm saying? So it's just that Israel is America's dirty work.
The United States didn't have the Western establishment of Israel. It was the British. British wanted to use Israel to control the Middle East. But after World War II, the British were weak. They could no longer sustain it. So the United States inherited that, and they inherited the wealth and the imperialist agenda. And they're just using Israel the same way the British was going to use Israel to control the Middle East, because it's less expensive than putting boots on the ground.
Right. What I've been saying from day one is the real Israel is right here in America, the United States of America. That's the real Israel. That right there is an extension of this right here.
Israel is the real United States.
Yeah. United States. This is Israel. This is Israel. This was the homeland that goes after they got kicked out of Spain, Portugal, and all throughout that region. They wanted a new homeland, and they honed in on what we call America today, as being that territory, and they came and got it.
Who is they?
Jewish people. What are you talking about? Who got kicked out of Spain? Who got kicked out of Portugal? Who got kicked out of France? They either had to convert to Christianity, or leave these countries. And so then when there were some who just stayed, right? They stayed, a president, and then they became identified as them, whether it be Spain, France,
the super minority,
but they were called crypto Jews.
The super minority that just doesn't represent the actual power. It's mind-boggling.
It's not mind-boggling at all. It's not mind-boggling at all. Is that because when you're trying to understand, it's because
you can talk about how they're doing right now, but I mean, you're talking let's talk about their origins. You're talking about they were kicked out of there. I'm just saying that they came here with not what I'm saying, they weren't the power structure. If you want to talk about, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm not. My bad. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I explained to you. It's not hard to understand. Is that so? They call themselves crypto Jews, the ones that stayed in these territories and forced to convert, or leave, so they didn't change their real identity. They're still considered themselves Jews, was proud to be that, but then they couldn't profess it and practice it, and rep it, in the open anymore, but that didn't change who they were. So they stayed in these societies, in these areas. Some left, right, and became nomadic, mainly inside the merchant and trade industries, where they sell shipbuilding, things of that nature as well, but the ones that stay in these areas, then when France, when Spain, when these European nations came over here to the New World, they weren't just Spanish people, and white people, how we're picturing Europeans. Most of these were what you would call these conquistadors, if you will. They were of mulatto stock,
Are you
as
saying
well as some were Jews, they weren't all white people. They were agents, if you will, of the crown. Of these groups. And so they, even though that for the record, when they say, when did the first Jewish people came to America, they talk about like 7 Jewish people that escaped Portugal, that end up coming here, and then being the first Jews. No, those weren't the first Jews. The first Jews had already been here, already established wealth, and already had a plan that they identified themselves. This is going to be our homeland, our new homeland right here in America.
What century was this?
And that's not conspiracy. This is
what century was it? What century?
Conspiracy theory. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why really quick though, because none of what you said is consistent with the evidence that we have.
But that's not true, bro. This is historical. It's not evidence.
Student, hold on. Go ahead.
Okay, because I'm saying, like, if you've ever taken time out to read, say, for instance, about the Mayflower, the passengers of the Mayflower actually wrote things. They wrote a book about the travels, because the people on the Mayflower actually came from the Netherlands. They lived there for about 10 years first. They went from England to the Netherlands. Every single passenger is documented by name, birth.
The people on the Mayflower were not the first people to come to America.
He's making a point. Let him make the point.
I made a point too. Those are not the first people that came to America that were white.
But we let you make your point. So now let him make his point.
Specific names of passengers. The Virginia Company, for instance, that backed the boats that came over to Virginia, for instance. Every single passenger, this was a business deal and relationship. They were financed by specific entities in London, and also in the other big financial capital starts with an M in Britain. I forgot the name, but I'm saying all this is documented. I'm saying not just documented today, historians looking back, but documented in the 17th century. Like, this is like, so there's no evidence of these Jewish people coming here and taking over every industry that developed.
He said taking over, you know what I mean?
I'm saying there's every industry
here focused on making this their homeland. That's what I said.
That's different. If he just said, he just said that people came here with the intention. Now he's not talking about that. I'm not saying that you changed it, but I'm just saying that that's very different. That's very different from saying that they came here and they had to control.
What happens
I'm not saying you did it. I'm not saying you did it.
You all infer stuff, and then you go on this tangent thinking that I'm saying something that I haven't even said. You know what I mean? But like I said, my whole point was that there were Jewish people here when Columbus came. Hell, he was a Jew. You know what I mean? But before America was established, before Pilgrims came to, actually, Brother Yusuf would tell you that the Pilgrims were Jews. Meaning the Pilgrims that you read about were Jewish people. You know what I mean? Again, going back to crypto Jews, and this is very well documented during the late Middle Ages. 1391, 1492, the Alhambra Decree. Many Jews left Spain, were forced to convert to Christianity or faced expulsion. Those that stayed, that they continued to practice in secret. You know what I mean? That was
like the thing. Black people practice their religions in secret during slavery.
Yeah, they sure did.
That doesn't make us. How does that oppression make us stronger and able to wield power secretly, to have this secret cabal, and we're just around controlling everything secretly behind the scenes? That's not. I mean, you took it to a whole nother
level that I wasn't on. You know what I mean?
Well, we've always been talking about power. So my point is that if we're talking about power and you offer this thing, this sounds like a counter to the power discussion. But it sounds like
what this is talking about. Yeah, what this is talking about is going back to my original statement, which I said the real Israel is right here in America. This is right, and that's what I'm saying. And I went back in time to show you how this was a focus of those that are influential.
What's Israel? What's Israel? What's Israel? You said it's the real Israel. What's Israel?
What does that even mean?
Yeah, what does it mean?
What Israel?
You said it's the real
policy,
Israel. You have to have a concept.
like the policy that you're telling me that it is the United States that is empowering Israel over there inside the Middle East.
But what is the real Israel? Because
what
I'm saying is that in terms of policy, that's being driven.
So you're saying metaphorically,
then for Americans, for you and I, for even the our white counterparts, it's not in our interest, Iran doesn't pose a threat to us. They don't pose a threat to anybody, inside of that region. They're not acquiring land or harming people. And now every government has citizens that they're not, that are unhappy with their government. We have that here. What I'm saying? But that is not the motivation that's being used to say, okay, we want to go help the people of Iran. We know that's not about. We know it's imperialism, like you're saying. But again, for us, it's not in our best interest to take Iran. But guess whose interest it is in? Your neocons and your Zionists positioned there, here in America and right there in the Middle East. They want to expand that region. They call it the Greater Israel Project. They want to expand that region to encompass Lebanon, parts of Iran, and grow in the influence. So they're fighting for territory. The Israel and America is fighting for territory. That's because they want more resources, as well, and so that's what this is about.
See, so look, I'm saying you said all of this stuff, and I'm not saying that it's not a rational position for you to take.
This is galloping.
But my point is that you made a comment, and we immediately both jumped on that comment because we were trying to understand what exactly did you mean by that? And my point is, when you said the real Israel is here, my point is that, okay, if you say the real Israel, you have to have a concept of what Israel is. So that's why we were saying, well, wait a second.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So I'm saying like the Israel that in terms of in the Middle East that you guys are looking at right now, I'm saying that is not America that is empowering them or even vice versa. I'm saying that it's one and the same. It's one and the same in terms of those who are in power. The Zionists, the neocons who are driving policy, in this country, then it's one and the same.
Which preceded the other? United States?
Well, I mean, come on, man. As far as timeline, what preceded America? Iran or
America don't exist.
You know what I mean?
The United States preceded the Israel, right? It existed before Israel.
It preceded this machination of Israel.
The state of Israel. That's what I'm talking about. The state of Israel. Okay, so you're saying that. So it would be that Israel is a little United States, not that United States is Israel. You know what I'm saying? How can you be something that preceded you that came before you?
No.
What do you mean?
No, and again, and that's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that it's a little United States. I'm saying that it's a colony. It's a colony. It's a beachhead that America set up, inside of, Africa, essentially. Inside Africa, and that's what it is.
No, what I'm saying, how can you be Israel is a bud that has grown from Britain and the United States. How can you be something? How can the bud be the father of the tree from which it came from?
Because that bud, you want to call it a bud?
No. What I'm saying is, you can say it became more powerful over time, which is a false argument. But I can go with that. But you can't say that this is the real Israel. The Israel is the United States, a piece of the United States, because the United States preceded Israel by centuries.
No, and again, and that's where you're not comprehending what I'm saying. I'm saying that the same mindset and people who run Israel now, right? That collective, that mindset, that's those same individuals. They came here first to the United States of America. They were already here, and then they grew
Pause. So they were already here in the 17th century. That's what you're arguing.
Yeah, bro. It's the same mindset, the same people, the same genealogy. Yeah, they've been here prior to the centuries. What are you talking about? They've been around for a long time.
Jewish people have been here in the North America for centuries before the English people came here.
White people found this area.
That's a yes or no. That's a yes or no question.
Yeah,
you agree
together, not before, together, simultaneously. You know what I mean?
Oh, so they came simultaneously.
Yeah,
with the English. Yeah. Okay, so
no. You said with the Indians.
English.
The English.
Yeah. But the English and others, the Spanish and others. Yeah.
No. I'm talking. Okay, I got you. I'm just speaking specifically in the area that was first initially occupied by the English. So you're saying, there were some. I don't know in the Mayflower there may not have been any, but in the other ships that came thereafter, there were that's a fact. There was a small minority though, but the majority, you would agree, were English. Would you agree?
The majority. Now, again, when you say
English settlers,
English, like it's like right now. If you go to England, you can't even work in England unless you're English. So essentially, you have to, get your nationality in order. You know what I mean? And now you're English. You know what I'm saying? So you could be as black as night. You know what I mean? But you're an Englishman. You know what I'm saying? And you could be lily white. What I mean? And you're still an Englishman as well. So what I'm saying is that, to make it simple, is that yes, you had so-called Jews, right, who are still Jews but can't identify as that now. Who were Englishmen, who were Frenchmen, who were Dutchmen, who were, multiple different nationalities. Because then, as some left these countries, went to other countries, and then the ones who stayed had to adopt that heritage and that reality there. Does that make sense? I feel like it's like when I'm explaining to white people that they had to come from.
Let me just say real quick. The passengers, they have the names, the documentation of all the passengers.
My name. So I have my name, and
man, you've been.
No, I'm trying to help you out. So like, I have a slave name, right?
I can't even talk though. If I were like the question that I'm going to ask you, I get what you're saying.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that if we get these names and we do an investigation, a background check, you're saying that some of these names are going to trace back to Jewish people. Now,
absolutely. What they call themselves crypto Jews. That was the historical term.
I agree. I imagine that was so, probably with some remnants or leftover people that were Muslims, or people that were Irish, or people that were Welsh, identified more with England. But what I'm saying is that we should be able to find who they are.
I'm saying if you want to go look, deeper, is there information? Is there? I mean, like I said, I'm not pulling this out of dim blue air. And some of these concepts, they don't even require research.
Quantify exactly how many and exactly who they were. But I'm saying, I would give you that. Yeah, there were a couple of Jews there. But how do you go from there to the Jews are somehow shaping the political perspective, and the perspective of Israel was in the thinking of the folks who financed the ship, the voyage over here, and their whole plans to occupy this land? This was like some Israeli Jewish secret plot. That's the bullshit.
I didn't say all that. You know what I mean? What I said was that what we see now, it being Israel, right? That right there was a creation that imagination that started with, I'm sure, our CIA, and then over there with British, we know the British intel, MI6, their think tanks, their institutions, they came up with a plan that they want to establish a beachhead in the Middle East for, like you said, and then of course there were a group of people and multiple of these nations that agreed, that would be a good idea. And guess what? We're, here's our narrative. We're the chosen people. We're going to round up a bunch of other white Europeans, and then we're going to come into this land, and then we're going to colonize it, and we're going to kick out the people out their homes, take their lands, and then we're going to set up shop. And that's what happened. I understand, like, what's the argument here? Like, what's so hard to understand?
Because you're giving Israel this unique precedent. Everything you just described is just basic colonialism. English been doing it all over the world. French been doing it all over the world, but somehow the Jewish people are somehow secretly behind it because they've been.
If that's what you're saying, I'm not saying it's a secret at all. And I'm not saying that it's Jewish people. I'm saying that you have it's transnational. You have some Jewish people, you have all type of people, but at the end of the day, if you want to really, group them together, then I call them neocons, warmongers, the wicked, Satan, I got a lot of terminology that I use for them, but like I said, for you to act like, now I'm just trying to say is just solely Jewish people, that there is this Zionist connection, because again, to set up shop in that land, you had to come with some sort of ploy, and the ploy is in your religion, this religion that causes goyim, that got revealed in the Epstein files, and look at us as being just the laborers, you have this, this image of that everyone else is less than you and you're superior. Now, by the way, I feel like all religions, many religions have that baked in.
And not only that, we got to understand that clearly, when we're talking about races, we argue that white supremacy makes this argument. Black supremacy. That's my stance. I say that the highest form expression of white supremacy. I think when you say Zionist, I've always said that. I think your strongest argument is when you say Zionist. I think it goes to shit when you say Jews, because then it becomes more of an issue. It's an attack. See, because Biden says, I'm a Zionist. You know what I'm saying? So now you have people that are not Jewish who actually do have power in this country, like when he was the president. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that, you talk about how these people are sort of like, American whisperers, like they're people that have influence and talk, they have to be on their shoulder to telling people in power in the ear what to do. But my point is that the people in power, they have to get them to do what they're doing. The weapons are the people in power, and they are not, by and large, not the Jews. They're not represented in government like that. They're not represented in what I'm saying? You can talk about
represented in government like that. What are you talking about?
Look at this. The British Empire at its peak, 13.7 million square miles. 30 to 35% of Earth's land surface controlled by the British. And you focus on this one little spot where they control in the Middle East called Israel, and you then give this empowerment to Israel like they're this great thing. Everything you describe is just basic colonialism that the British has been doing to 35% of the land mass on Earth where people live, and you're blowing up this one spot.
That's what you're doing. Like the whole thing is that again, the concept that people are talking about is not that, all this emphasis is that where, just like in Ukraine ended up being this safe haven for where a lot of money laundering was taking place, where a lot of crooked deals and things were going on and whatnot. That's what Ukraine ended up being. So even though it's this little tiny spot on the map, it's still, it had a lot of a pull, a lot of attraction, and a lot of power based on what was taking place there. Even right now, with this war, they have sent billions and billions of dollars, much of which has ended up in some of the warmongers' hands, and not in their people's hands and whatnot, and then in return, they just been sending these their people to the meat grinder, getting grounded up, while a small elite group are making money. You know what I'm saying? So even though that is in this moment something that is on the map that has influence, it's still, when you look at it in the microcosm of everything, it doesn't appear to be that big and significant. But again, billions have come through there, and there's been millions of lives that have been lost just in this region right now based on this effort. And so that's significant, that's relevant, and that's impactful.
I'm gonna just
let's wrap it up. I can hear you. I'm just saying that, to me, your strongest argument is when you say the Zionists, because now you are encompassing the non-Jewish people in power that may be actually part of the government.
What though? What are you saying? Like,
well, I'm just saying, when you say Jewish people, that is some. I mean, it's fundamentally.
When I say Jewish people, bro, I talk about black people, Jewish people. What
but Jewish people, but I'm just saying, when Jewish people don't collectively control anything. People that are Jewish.
Did I say Jewish people collectively control something?
I know, but when you say Jewish people, I'm telling you that when you say Jewish people, it is an inferior way
people. What context are you saying I said it in? That's what I'm trying to understand. Like, what is your hang up?
You're talking about the people that, again.
Why talk about crypto Jews?
I'm not talking about you. First of all, I understand that you don't. You're not condemning all Jewish people. You're not. I don't even know if you're condemning any other than.
I'm condemning the wicked evildoers. No matter what class, creed, or color they might fall.
I get that. But my point is that when you talk about Zionists, now you can talk about white people in the government that are not Jews that have actual power. I'm just saying that the actual Jews that
actually we can talk about both. We can talk about. Gentiles are in government are in power.
What percentage of Jewish people are actually in the government?
Say what?
What percentage of Jewish people are actually running the government? I'm talking about in the government, actually employed by the government.
In the government, you mean like
I'm talking about the president's cabinet?
Are we talking about? Bro, first of all, I have no way of knowing that, but I guarantee you it is not proportional with the percentage of the population. I can guarantee you that, by far.
And you know what? It's probably even
I'm not saying that's a conspiracy. I'm not saying that's a conspiracy. I'm saying it's because
it's probably even more white.
Many of them are high achievers, just like a lot of Indian people I know. They're always focused and being steered into law, mathematics, science, engineering.
Africans, people coming straight from Africa will be that same way.
Echelons of immigration quotas. That's the immigration quota. Again, let me just say really, if I will, when you say Zionists, you realize Zionism is a political philosophy that started in the late 19th century in Russia.
Well, once Israel came into existence, so
no, that was centuries before Israel, not centuries, but it was in the 1890s. Israel didn't come into existence until 1948.
But again, point taken.
You've been talking a lot.
Okay, go ahead. My bad. Go ahead, brother.
2 or 3 sentences. Okay. So is the Theodore Herz, that political philosophy that he established, it led to movement amongst Jews, international movement, Zionism, because the British Empire was international, and they petitioned, like all other groups were petitioning the British Empire, let us have a piece of the empire. We want a place of our own, and that was granted with the Balfour Doctrine, and they gave some type of okay or green light to that. But the British government was also given the same green light to the Palestinian people there, because at the time they had toppled the Ottoman Empire. So that land was, they were caught in the in-between, and not until 1948 that they actually, they were occupying that land little by little. But in the position, when you're in a position of having to petition someone to help assist you to get to a land, that's a position of dependence. That means you don't have the power. You're positioning the power to provide you the transportation and the military to get there and to establish. And then you're dependent on these same powers to maintain you year after year. But then you turn around and say, they're the real power. What's happening?
It's influence. It's influence versus power. They're completely different things. Because if you have power, you don't have to influence. You just exercise it. That's why we keep bringing up the example with the rhinoceros and the birdie. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, there's no question. You're absolutely right, Student X. We know that proportionally they have way more influence than, like, let's say their statistical numbers of the population. You know what I'm saying? We understand that they have way more financial resources and compared to their population numbers. But like you said, that's largely a factor of great business decision or business success, whatever success you call it. You know what I'm saying? Some of it is definitely based in oppression and stuff like that. That's when you go further back. We understand how that works. Yeah. But
white supremacy, they're junior partners in white supremacy.
But at the end of the day, rich people that have to rely on people with actual power don't have the power, they just influence the power. That's really the only argument. I think that sometimes we basically agreeing that they're having this maybe undue influence. I'm not even doubting that. You know what I'm saying? The fact that the whole Israel argument, I mean, Israel is not very popular these days. I mean,
the least popular I ever seen them, in my lifetime.
I'm saying I'm not going to question you on that note. But I'm saying that, at the end of the day, the power resides in the people that don't have to rely on influence. That's why I keep saying that you talking about the tail wagging the dog wags the tail. Israel is they're not the puppet master. You know what I'm saying? They can be the whisperer, but they ain't the puppet master. They don't have the power.
No, so now we're getting that's a different show. And I wish I caught the show that you guys touched on some of these things before. You know what I mean? Because I have my notes and everything.
We'll set it up.
Maybe we'll revisit
it. Set it up. That's the root of the argument.
We'll set it up. So let's wrap this up. Yeah. So again, brothers, it's nothing but respect. We don't always gotta agree. Like we say, we're not a monolith. You know what I'm saying? And that goes for everybody. We're not discouraging Jewish people. We're not discouraging white people. We understand that there are terrible white people out there. There are terrible Jewish people. There are terrible black people. At the end of the day, there's every machination of people out there, but there's probably good machinations as well. So the bottom line is you're going to get, at least from me, I can't speak from everybody else, you're going to get the benefit of the doubt from me. So again, we ain't out here bashing or trying to make any enemies or nothing like that. We're just speaking on what it is. So
I judge every person, they individual, what they contribute, to this world. You know what I mean? And that's how I'm gonna make it.
U.S. imperialism is my enemy. White supremacy is my enemy.
So that's what it is. So we appreciate you. Like, subscribe, share, and even if you got stupid comments like this, guess what? We still put them up there. So the bottom line is, if you got something to say, even if you want to troll us, all I got to say is, all you trolls, we appreciate your click.
I mean, but that's just, different strokes, different folks and whatnot and everything. I'm not going to say, call stupid ICE that, what they were supposed to do, which is, get, these, the serious criminals about our nation. I'm all for the application, how it's been being done. A lot of people don't like that.
Wait, you are for the application or you aren't for?
No, bro, come on, bro. You know where my position is.
I
was for removing, criminals, rapists, people of that nature.
We all are.
But when you start the application, how this is happening,
that's why I right now said what, because you heard it too, right? It sounded like you were supporting the application. So we support.
They trying to set me up like Trump. They trying to set me up like Trump. They're gonna have a little video come on after this. You know what I mean?
So that having been said, like, share, subscribe. We appreciate you. Peace out.
All right, y'all.